and blood. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did.
The threat of war looms.
There is no war so hateful as a war between kin.
I mean to fight this war and win it.
I will not be thought weak. I wish to spill blood.
And no war so bloody as a war between dragons. Soon they will not even remember what it was that began the war in the first place. When the desire to kill and burn takes hold, reason is forgotten.
We cannot hide in our castle waiting for war to come to us.
Good. To war then.
Her son sits my throne.
There has been no word from Prince Damon.
We must press what advantage we do have.
And what is that?
Dragons.
If dragons begin fighting dragons, we invite our own destruction.
It'll be savage beyond all compare.
And welcome one, welcome all back to our House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 3, Pregame and Predictions. And how is everybody doing this evening? And it's so exciting, man. I can't believe, I really look forward to the weekends now. I mean, there's been some really great shows that we've covered in the past this year. Shogun, of course, was phenomenal. Loved Shogun. But being back in the world of Westeros just hits on another level that some of these other shows just don't hit. Just for me personally, just given how much I love this world and these characters and everything. So I love that Westerosi weekends are officially back, ladies and gentlemen. And we are going to be diving into Episode 3 and talking about some Episode 2 as well this evening. But welcome one, welcome all. Snugs, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, pretty good. Got a chance to watch the episode after having a busy week late last night, so I'm ready to talk about that and what's coming up next.
Hell yes, I like it. I like it. Awesome. And of course, joining us all as always, my good friend Kay Lisi. Welcome, Kayla.
Good evening.
I think Kayla might still be getting a drink. She'll be back in a second, though.
I'm
She's back. There she is. Welcome. Welcome, Queen Kay Lisi. How's it going? You ready for Episode 3?
Hell yeah, I'm ready for Episode 3. So I saw something in Episode 2 that piqued my interest a little bit. So.
Ooh. Okay, we're going to have to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're going to have to talk about that here in a little bit. I like that. I like that. And yes, I cannot wait. We're going to be diving into all things, of course, Episode 2 and looking ahead to Episode 3 and some of the things that we can expect. And of course, you guys know, as always, in the chat throughout the night, we want to know what you guys are thinking as well. What did you like about the first 2 episodes? What did you dislike about the first 2 episodes? What are you looking forward to seeing in Episode 3 and beyond? We want to know what you guys have to say as well. So don't be shy. Sound off in the chat throughout the evening. Welcome one, welcome all. And speaking of the awesome chat, let me scroll over here and see who is joining us on this fine evening as I pull up my second screen. And speaking of, while I do that, we also have our fourth wheel is officially here. We are complete. All this fresh off the farm. What is up, my friend?
Not much, everybody. I apologize for being a little late. Ran into an unexpected construction on the highway. So
I know what that's like.
I know
it's the season. Yeah. Kayla and I certainly know what that's like, especially being up here from New England. These roads are not the best, and they're always getting worked on, it seems. So I know what you mean, man. I've been there. I have been there. But welcome, man. You excited for episode 3?
I am. I'm looking forward to it. 2, I've got some things I want to talk about, but overall, I'm really liking where they're going, man.
Awesome. I like it. And that's what we like. We love diving into these things, what we liked, what we disliked, what we maybe thought could have been done a little bit better, what we thought was perfect, and everything in between. That is what we like to dive into here. So yeah, absolutely, guys. Sound off throughout the evening. We got Zachary Welch in the house. What is up, Zachary? Good to see you, my friend. I know Zachary is ready for episode 3 as well. Hell yes. Hell yes. We got Kiwi Skirt in the building as well. What is up, Kiwi Skirt? Good to see you, my awesome, awesome friend, our New Zealand brethren, or sisterin, as I should say. Welcome, Kiwi. We got Inside the Squared Circle with King Judah. What is up, King Judah? Welcome to see you, my friend. Prediction is Helena will be brought to justice for sacrificing the heir to the Iron Throne to save her daughter. Ooh, interesting. Very interesting theory. And I have heard a few people kind of echo these sentiments over the week as well. And, King Judah brings up the, real life historical precedent there is for this, because yes, in real life, something like this were to happen. Yes, the queen could very well face some dire consequences under those kind of circumstances. So I guess we'll have to see how House of the Dragon handles it. I guess we will have to see. I think Elena's going to be all right. I don't think she'll get sacrificed personally, but I do think she's going to have to pay a much steeper price than that throughout the rest of the season. And that is just living with the guilt of knowing she had to choose between one of her children. I mean, that alone is punishment enough. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Helena's story unfolds from here on out, because we don't get a whole lot from Helena in the blood, in Fire and Blood, excuse me, other than the fact that after Blood and Cheese happens, she pretty much remains shut in the tower. She never leaves. She doesn't eat. She doesn't sleep. She never rides her dragon. She's very kind of secluded from there on out. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Helena on the show handles it, because it seems like show Helena and book Helena are so far two very different characters, which is interesting. I like what they're doing with show Helena, making her a dragon dreamer and all that. It's an interesting aspect. So yeah, I guess we'll see. I guess we will see how Helena fares after Blood and Cheese. Probably not too well. We got MKXD in the house. What is up, MKXD? Good to see you as well, my friend. We got Bernie in the building as well. What is up, Bernie? Welcome, welcome. The Witch Queen. Hell yes. Hell yes, indeed. The Witch Queen, Alice Rivers, and all of the awesome and fascinating scenes that I'm sure that character is going to bring. Cannot wait to see some Alice Rivers this season. Who knows? Maybe it'll be this episode. We are going to Harrenhal after all. We are going to Harrenhal. We got Geek Girl in house. What is up, Greek? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got BB in the house. What is up, BB? Who is Benjicourt? I can't remember the lore. I just see people excited for him to return. Yes! Absolutely. And I know Aldous, I know Aldous is, Benjicourt Blackwood is one of Aldous' favorite characters from Fire and Blood. So I know you are going to be excited to see him. And yes, it looks like we are going to meet young Benjicourt Blackwood in episode 3. And I could not be more excited. And I know you're looking forward to this as well. And as I pull up this image here, it seems like they have casted the just absolute perfect actor to play Benjicourt Blackwood, especially if you're going off the art in Rise of the Dragon. So let me pull this up here. But yeah, all this, you looking forward to seeing young Benjicourt?
Good old Bloody Ben, man. I like I said before, we were talking in episode 1. This guy, he's a kid, but he's a total badass. And it's yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of hype around him, but these are the characters that I like, right? Like, you've always got your main cast, and your main cast are always going to be great characters. But when you have a strong secondary cast of characters that can rise up, and you almost want more story, that's magical when that happens. And that occurred for me with this character, because it's like, I almost want to know more about Bloody Ben than I do the other characters, man. What happened to this kid? Expand it out on him. Plus, it's the whole House Blackwood and Bracken thing that we alluded to in season 1. You've got that going for it. It's cool because it's the meat, right? We've built the skeleton with all the main characters and what's going on with the Targaryen family. Here, now we're putting some meat on the bones. We're fleshing out that world. And it's not just dull two-dimensional characters. These people have lives and they've been doing stuff and tragedies. His parents die. He has to lead the house. And he kicks ass doing it. So hell yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it.
He does. And like you said, especially being so young. I mean, he's so young, but he comes into the story with, there's a reason why there's a lot of hype around Benjamin Blackwood within the fandom, because he's he's a minor secondary character, but he makes such a very lasting and memorable impact on just about everybody, I think, that reads Fire and Blood. And when you learn a little bit about the lore around the character and what he does and how young he is, it's a fun character, and I think it's a character a lot of the book fans in particular are really going to have some fun seeing on screen for the first time. And again, I mean, based off the awesome Rise of the Dragon Benjamin Blackwood art, it looks like they have casted the perfect freaking kid to play him. He's perfect. He's so perfect. It's great. It really is great. So yeah, I cannot wait to see young Benjamin. I think he is going to be a very, very interesting character. It does look like episode 3 is going to be touching on a little bit of the Bracken and Blackwood rivalry, which we did get a small taste of in season 1. I'm sure everybody remembers this very memorable scene where young Samwell Blackwood got his first kill. And Benjamin Blackwood is actually the son of Samwell Blackwood. So we see young Samwell Blackwood in season 1, and now we're going to see him around 16, 17 years later when he's all grown up. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the Bracken and Blackwood storyline. I wonder if we're going to get like full-on Battle of the Burning Mill. Are we just going to get like an alluded to it? Is it going to be a shorter, condensed version? I get the feeling, especially considering episode 4 is going to be the big Battle of Rook's Rest. I find it hard to believe that they're going to have 2 big battle sequences in back-to-back episodes. Ryan Condal has said they did film 2 big battles for season 2. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with the Battle of the Burning Mill. Are we going to get a full-on battle? Are we going to get a smaller, condensed version of it? But either way, it looks like we are going to get some semblance of the Blackwood-Bracken rivalry in episode 3. So this should be fun. This should be fun. And yeah, fucking young Samwell Blackwood, man. He definitely made an impression, didn't he, Kayla?
He did. I mean, the feud between the Brackens and the Blackwoods goes all the way back to the Age of Heroes. They have been having problems for that long because the houses ruled various parts of the Riverlands as kings at various different times. And they were divided not only by like religions, but pretty much everything. They're pretty much, I would say, like the Hatfields and McCoys of like American history and folklore. Pretty much that's what they are. That's
perfect.
Their beef is deep.
Analogy, because I mean, just about everybody in America, I'm sure, has heard of the Hatfield and McCoys feud dating back, centuries. And yeah, this very much is the Westerosi version of the Hatfields versus the McCoys. And like you said, they come from 2 totally different faiths, where House Blackwood worships the old gods and House Bracken is of the faith of the Seven. They couldn't be opposite in what they stand for and what they believe in. But like you said, they both have ruled over various parts of the Riverlands for thousands of years. So they have been constantly clashing. So we're going to see that clash come to a head, I think, in episode 3, guys.
I can't wait. I got to pull up a quote from A Dance with Dragons.
Ooh, all right. You get that quote ready. Okay. I will continue to say what is up to the chat.
When you're ready, I'm ready.
Oh, all right. Yeah, if you got it ready, go ahead, please.
I got
Sound
it.
off.
So this is from one of Jamie's chapters here. But it says, we've had 100 pieces with the Brackens, many sealed with marriages. There's Blackwood blood in every Bracken and Bracken blood in every Blackwood.
Oof, such a great line. It is. I mean, I know there's not a whole lot of dialogue in Fire and Blood, but the history, the way it's recounted, you can just see what an elegant writer phenomenal. George is. Like, he just has such a way with words, that man. Yeah, awesome stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what the show does with it. Again, I don't know if they're going to go full on Battle of the Burning Mill action, or if we're just going to get some kind of condensed version. what's going to happen with the whole Stonehenge thing, which we'll get into in a little bit as well, especially with Damon being in Harrenhal, it seems like, for episode 3. I don't think he's going to be able to be in 2 places at once. But either way, I cannot wait to see what unfolds. We got Jay in the house. What is up, Jay? Good to see you as well. We got Nana Vagar in the house. What is up, Nana Vagar? Hopefully Aemon starts having more scenes. And I definitely noticed the lack of Aemon scenes as well. I don't know if it was just me, but I was definitely expecting for them to go a little bit heavier on Aemon screen time. And I get the feeling they probably will after episode 4 and beyond for the rest of season 2, considering what happens at Rook's Rest and Aemon's part in the rest of the story afterwards. But yeah, I was a little bit worried that they weren't going to get enough screen time for not only Aemon, but one character I'm actually noticing a very much lack of screen time in, especially considering where this season is potentially going in just a very short amount of episodes, is Rhaenys, the queen who never was. Rhaenys is such a phenomenal character. She's so interesting. She's one of the most seasoned dragon riders on the entire show, if not the most seasoned, actually. She's a very interesting character, and she's a very fan favorite character for a lot of reasons. I think Eve Best has brought that character to life in phenomenal ways. She's great in the role. But I was just noticing a very lack of Rhaenys scenes in these first few episodes, especially considering, again, where I don't want to spoil it, but considering where the season is going. I was definitely expecting them to give Rhaenys a little bit more screen time in these first 3 or 4 episodes. But that's just me, just a notice.
Well, with the Aemon thing, I think part of it is like episodes 1 and 2 are really focused on Aegon, and they're establishing that, his incompetency and his he's a loaf, right? He's both mentally, physically, and in a rulership, he's a loaf. He doesn't have the maturity, so they've established that. Next would be to bring in Aemon and show Aemon as the exact counterpoint to him, that he is not withdrawn, but slow to judge, slow to react, but when he reacts, it's with purpose, and there's a more of a gilded maturity to him. I think that's what they're going to do to contrast the two. And the reason I say that is, if you look at how they handled the Hightower losing the hand, I think that's the frame out that they're going to use it with, because you saw the 2 sides of Otto. And so in his grandchildren, now you're going to see the 2 sides, and it's going to frame it out. So at first, Otto's in control, but his grandson isn't. Now Otto's out of control, but his grandson still has control. And so you're going to frame out how the lineage works as pieces of the sire, so to speak.
Yeah. Interesting.
But there's always a theme within Targaryen second sons, always. And Aemon, in a lot of ways, mirrors Damon.
Yeah, and that's the thing with not only just Targaryen second sons, but it seems like with all of the second sons in period, it seems like George very much favors writing these second sons. You see what he did with Ned.
And Aemon the Dragonite.
Aemon the Dragonite. We see what he did with Oberyn Martell, the freaking red freaking Viper of Dorne. Some of the most badass characters in all of Westeros just happen to be second sons or even third sons in some cases. So it seems like George really likes writing that role, where with heirs to the throne, you're kind of limited in how you want to portray them because they are going to be a ruler. But when you have a second son, you can get a little more loose with those characters, I imagine. That's where you get some of these rogue princes, these red viper characters, these Aemon characters that always seem to be just a little bit more interesting than their older brothers or older counterparts. So yeah, it seems like George really likes writing second son characters.
Well, it makes sense, because they're not being groomed for the throne, so they're going to be a little bit more free to kind of do whatever they want. Yeah,
exactly. Not beholden to the crown per se. Indeed.
Right.
Indeed.
This was something that surprised me. This scene. Sorry.
This scene right here? I wasn't too surprised by this scene, actually. I thought this was, I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe because I had a feeling Aemon, more than anyone, would probably have a little bit of mommy issues, if nothing else. Alicent definitely seems like she's not a very loving and warm mother. And I think we saw that on display in episode 2 in particular, where Alicent goes to Aegon's room at the end of the episode, and it seems like she's probably going there to maybe scold him for releasing Otto as hand. She sees him there just bawling and just turns around and walks away. Where if that was Rhaenyra, at least show Rhaenyra, I feel like is a much better mother, at least is portrayed as the better or more caring mother so far in the season, whereas Rhaenyra kind of completely put her whole queenly duties aside just so she could get that satisfaction and that grievance as a mother looking for Luke's body. So I do feel like Rhaenyra is the better mother of the two.
Absolutely.
But so that's why I'm not too surprised with Aemon's kind of mommy issues. It seems like Alicent was a little cold and distant.
It's not the mommy issues. I was just surprised that they included this in the episode. That's what I was surprised at. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the whole scene here is very telling. Even the prostitute that he's hooking up with, she is kind of reminiscent to what his mother looks like. The fact that he's like drinking milk and
drinking
everything,
milk,
and the way that he's being held and he's in a fetal position.
It's very Homelander-esque.
It is very.
It reminded me of Homelander from The Boys.
It does.
It's very Homelander-like. But no, you're right.
They're fleshing him out in a way that I didn't think that they would. So,
and that's one thing the actor said. He had a lot of fun with crafting Aemond in season 1. But Ewan Mitchell says his season 1 Aemond he wanted to portray as much more of the kind of stoic, one-dimensional bad guy. Whereas now in season 2, he's really having fun peeling those layers back on Aemond and showing some of these softer sides of Aemond. And again, we find out in this scene that he actually does feel bad about what happened to Luke, how he lost his temper, he wishes it never happened. So, like you said, they are kind of fleshing this character out a little bit more in season 2, where he's not just that one-dimensional bad guy, which can get boring at times. I like characters to have this kind of complexity to them. Let me say what I was going to say and we'll get to the chat. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it also kind of contrasts with Damon and his, saying that there was a mistake for the kid to get killed during the blood and cheese. So there is a little bit of a contrast there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, I like that. And we have a $2 super chat from Radical Z. Thank you so much, Radical Z, for the $2 super chat. Welcome. Says, I like that each episode is long and not 40 minutes. I have been loving the episode runtimes as well. Episode 1 was around 64 minutes. Episode 2 was a whopping 72 minutes. Episode 3 coming up is 65 minutes. And then episode 4, the Battle of the Rook's Rest, I'm hearing is around 54 minutes in runtime. So, Rook's
54?
Rest is actually the shortest. Yeah, 54 minutes in runtime. Well,
I want 80 minutes. Give me 90 minutes.
That whole episode is only going to be just the battle. It's only going to be the Battle of Rook's Rest. So I understand that episode being a little bit shorter than the rest because it's only focusing on a small handful of characters and just telling the story of the battle. So I understand that one being a little bit shorter than these episodes that have a little bit more exposition, a little bit more character development. But I'm with you, too. I would love to see Rook's Rest be like freaking 80 minutes long, too. But I think I get where they're coming from, what they're going for, at least. But no, I can't wait. And thank you so much for the $2 super chat. But yeah, I totally agree. I've been loving the episode runtimes up until now. I really love seeing that every episode has been an hour or longer so far. So yeah, it's been great. It has been great. And you guys know what that means. Super chat has come in, so a whoa is being sent back. Cover your ears, chat.
Whoa!
Whoa, indeed. Thank you. And welcome everybody else in the chat. I'm sorry if I did miss a few of you. I try to get everybody, but there's so many of you piling in lately, and I'm so happy to see each and every one of you here. Welcome one, welcome all. And yeah, definitely sound off throughout the night. What you guys think of Alicent? I'm reading a comment while I'm trying to talk. Anybody think Alicent and Criston will be found out? I think there's already a lot of people who already know about Alicent and Criston and maybe just don't say anything. I definitely think his fellow brothers of the Kingsguard probably know, especially based on the exchange we get between Arik and Criston in episode 2, where Criston is kind of grilling Arik, where were you when the king was, yada yada, and Arik kind of fires right back and he says, "Where were you, Lord Commander?" And just the way he delivers that line, the retort, it definitely led me to believe like he probably already freaking knew that this guy's stupid Alicent. So I get the feeling a lot of them in the Red Keep probably already know, but I think it's just one of those things that just goes unspoken, similar to how a lot of people knew about Cersei and Jaime and just ignored it.
Right. Let's talk about that scene too, though, because I mean, it's the little things. It's the things in the background. Because as soon as Eric says that, everybody grabs their plates and their cups and just leaves.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
And
they
anybody
do.
that's ever been in a cafeteria in like middle school when there's a fight about ready to break out, like that is like rote what happens. Like everybody just
Yeah.
clears away and lets it happen. And it's just funny because it's the same style. It's the same thing, right? Kids in middle school are going to do that around any authoritative figure. Here's an authoritative figure. Cole walks in. They can't challenge him. They know he's stooping the queen. He's got, social capital within the keep. They can't challenge him. They don't want to correct him. So instead, they just take their shit and move out of the way and let it happen. It was just a great little moment. And then I love too, like when they're doing it, it's not quiet because they're all in full armor. So it's just all you get is this loud clamor of them all moving away. It's not a silent moment. It's a very obvious moment.
Yeah, not very subtle. You hear the clanking of armor and cups just get up and mosey on away from the tables. And it, like you said, it is very telling. And I get the feeling the tension and just the general overall mood when Criston is around the rest of his Kingsguard brothers is probably very tense. He's probably one of those bosses that his employees just hate to fucking be around. At least that's kind of the vibe I get from him anyway. But yeah,
He's
like Vic says, joke's on us. They all know, they just don't care. That seems to be the case. Indeed.
Pretty true.
Indeed. We got another super chat from Radical Z. Thank you so much, Radical Z, for the super chat. Welcome, welcome. Do you think Rook's Rest will be the only battle in season 2? I don't. We did hear Ryan Condal say a few weeks back that they did film 2 major battle sequences in season 2. Obviously, Rook's Rest is going to be one of them. The second one has been kind of up for debate. Will it be the Burning Mill? Will it maybe be the Red Fork a little bit later down the road? What exactly will the second battle be? I don't think they'll get as far as the Gullet in season 2. It seems like the Gullet will, especially only having 8 episodes, seems like the Gullet is more likely a season 3 battle now. I guess you never know. It's depends on the pacing, but we do know for a fact that there are going to be 2 major battles filmed in season 2, Rook's Rest and one more. So we do have at least 2 to look forward to in season 2. And thank you, Radical Z, for the super chat, my friend. Cover your ears, guys. Another woe is on the way for Radical Z.
Whoa! I feel like it would be the Battle of the Burning Mill, just because I feel like it would.
Well, I mean, if they're going to do any Burning Mill action, it will be in episode 3. And I know they're going to do something with the Blackwoods and Brackens. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I suppose they could do 2 major battles in back-to-back episodes. It just seems a little unlikely, especially with only an 8-episode season. So I'm expecting to get something for the Burning Mill. I'm not expecting to get like a full-pitch battle, but who knows? Maybe. You never know. You never know. But yeah, thank you so much, Radical Z, for the super chat, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And welcome one. I did see someone earlier ask me if I was Team Black or Team Green. And thank you, Kiwi. Kiwi knows me. She knows my teams and where I stand. So Kiwi answered that. But for anybody else who was wondering, I'm neither Team Black or Team Green. I am Team Dragon. I have been Team Dragon since day one, and Team Small Folk to a certain degree as well. I got to, carry a flag for Small Folk. Not many people do in Game of Thrones. But no, I'm Team Dragon. I don't get into the whole Team Black, Team Green thing. I feel like there's good and evil on both sides. I feel like both sides are incredibly flawed. There was a very interesting soundbite from Rhys Ifans lately, the actor who plays Otto, and they were asking him, which side he thinks deserves to win, and he says neither. He says both sides are freaking war criminals. I think you guys should just have fun watching them all die. And it was such a funny soundbite. It's so true because both sides really are depraved. There isn't a good versus evil here in House of the Dragon. It's not like Game of Thrones. The Dance of the Dragons is very more complex. It's not just your average good versus evil take. So yeah, I'm neither Team Black nor Team Green. I appreciate a lot of the characters on both sides, but I will always be Team Dragon. Team Dragon. But if you are Team Black or Team Green, that is totally cool. We love to see you guys here. Whatever team you are most welcome here. And yeah, if you guys want to, sound off in the chat. What teams are you guys? Are you Team Black? Are you Team Green? Are you Team Dragon? Are you Team Small Folk? Are you Team freaking Team Night's Watch. It does not matter. All teams are welcome. Let us know in the chat, what team are you? But what about you guys? Snug, do you favor a Team Black or Team Green?
No, they both suck. I like Team Stark.
Team Stark is a good team to be on.
Yeah, Team Stark, Team Small Folk. But it did seem like they were trying to, because my memory from reading the book is they don't really care about the small folk much in that, but this does seem to be giving their perspective a little bit more in the show, which I think is good.
All right, awesome. What about you, Aldous? Team Black or Team Green or another team?
I am Team MF and Cannibal. That's it. I want to. If I don't, I mean, I know I'm gonna get my Benja Cup, so I'm good there. Now I'm moving into just pure Team Cannibal. I need to see that dragon wreak some havoc.
Yes, I love it. And if there is a dragon that I want to see, Cannibal is probably the dragon I want to see more than any other dragon. Apart from the dragons we've already got on the show, Caraxes has always been one of my favorite dragons. I'm really looking forward to seeing Tessarion as well, Daron the Daring's Tessarion. But other than those two, yes, Cannibal is definitely the dragon that I want to see the most, hands down. What about you, Kayla? What team are you?
I'm Team Dragon.
Hell yes. I like it.
Team Zaldrizas. All about the dragons.
Hell yeah.
You're getting good. You're getting good.
They're great. I mean, you can't go wrong with Team Dragon. Team Dragon are the ultimate victims in all of this, I say. But sorry, Snug, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I just thought that scene with it, where they had the dragon coming out of the cave, that was pretty cool. Although I expected it to do something. I was expecting it to do something more than fly away. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, because we saw that scene in the trailer, and it looks pretty badass. We see Damon on top of Caraxes coming out of the cave, all suited up in armor, and then he just flies off. But no, in terms of dragons that I'm looking forward to seeing most, definitely Cannibal, but definitely this one right here, Daron the Daring's Tessarion, the Blue Queen. Blue's my favorite color, so that's probably why I'm a little biased to this dragon's design, more than others, and especially for the fact that Tessarion spits blue freaking fire in the book. I doubt we'll get blue fire on the show. It seems like the show is going for the Game of Thrones all same fire color. But Tessarion in the book famously shoots out blue fire, has this cobalt blue skin and these copper horns, such a phenomenal looking design. And now we have been waiting a very long time, and we finally got our first reference to Daron the Daring. He does exist, ladies and gentlemen. Check this out.
Aegon is still malleable. It is the death of the child that has unstrung him.
I can't stay here. Exiled from the council. Witness to the blundering of our plans, I'll return to Old Town. The High Towers still have strength, and you have a son there who'll take more kindly to instruction. Daron may yet help us in weeks to come.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Daron may help us in weeks to come. Daron the Daring is coming now. Unfortunately, we are not going to be getting Daron in season 2 from what I am hearing, but he will be very prominent in season 3. So I cannot wait. Bring on Daron the Daring. Bring on the Blue Queen. I cannot freaking wait. I cannot wait. But I like this as well. Henry Bemis says, I'm team painful death for Criston. I think after these last few episodes, I think we're all on a similar team right there with you, Henry Bemis. Yeah, Criston Cole has really become one of, if not the most unlikable characters in House of the Dragon and in the history of Game of Thrones entirely. He's right up there with like Joffrey and Ramsay level at this point. I will say, however, I did find it a little unfortunate that the actor, Fabian, the actor who plays Criston Cole, unfortunately, he had to kind of deactivate or limit his Instagram usage because he was catching so much like really vile hate. And you hate to see that. I mean, these are actors portraying a role at the end of the day. He's, Fabian is not really Criston Cole. He is an actor doing a job. And the fact that he can elicit that much ire out of the fandom, if nothing else, it shows you that he is a very good actor in that role, because the guy Fabian behind Criston is such a freaking nice guy by all accounts. So I did find that a little distasteful. It's a little unfortunate when you see a portion of the fandom kind of attack the actors behind a role. And we saw this happen with Joffrey as well. The actor who played Joffrey, Jack Gleeson in Game of Thrones, he received so much hate during Game of Thrones and while that show was airing, that after he got killed off on that show, he quit acting for a while and went back to theater, stage acting, because he was catching so much hate. And it's unfortunate sometimes when portions of the fandom can't separate the actor from the role that they're playing. So just wanted to point that out. I think he's doing a phenomenal job in the role, Fabian is. And as much as I hate Criston, I very much appreciate Fabian in the role. And let's keep the hate directed towards Criston and not the man himself.
It also speaks to how good of a job they're doing, that people are having a hard time delineating between the character and the actor.
True.
Exactly. If nothing, it shows that he's doing his job very well. I think the very character of Criston Cole was designed to be that kind of antagonist character, and yes, he's playing that role very well, for sure. But yeah, you just hate to see when people can't separate the two. Exactly, Divine. It just sucks when people can't separate the actors from the characters they play. But yeah, phenomenal actor. And by all accounts, seems like he's a really, really cool dude as well. But yeah, great performance on the show. He's definitely become the most unlikable character on the show. And it's going to be fun to see his storyline develop, especially if anyone out there is team painful death for Criston. Then you guys are, in particular, really going to enjoy the Winter Wolves when they eventually show up on the show. Awesome stuff. Now, one thing I did want to touch on a little bit is we do have a very quick episode 3 teaser trailer that I'm going to play real quick, and we'll talk a little bit about this as well. And we'll kind of bounce back and forth between episode 2 and episode 3 and whatever you guys want to talk about in the chat. But I'm going to play this quick episode 3 teaser trailer and give us a little kind of hint, a little taste of what we have to look forward to tomorrow night. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Soon they will not even remember what it was that began the war in the first place. When the desire to kill and burn takes hold, reason is forgotten.
We cannot hide in our castle waiting for war to come to us.
Good. To war, then.
Her son sits my throne.
There has been no word from Prince Damon.
We must press what advantage we do have.
And what is that?
Dragons.
If dragons begin fighting dragons, we invite our own destruction.
It'll be savage beyond all compare.
Whew. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Nice little preview for episode 3. And it looks like they're doing quite a few things in episode 3. It looks like we have a nice Damon Harrenhal storyline to look forward to in episode 3. It looks like, again, we're going to get some of that Blackwood Bracken action. But it also looks like they are laying some of the groundwork for what's going to be coming in episode 4 as well, with the Battle of Rook's Rest. As we see the first shot in the trailer, we see the forces of the Greens gathering up and departing from King's Landing, which, of course, anyone who has read Fire and Blood, I think we probably have an idea as to where the Green forces are going to head when they do leave King's Landing, and how that directly kind of sets up the Battle of Rook's Rest. So I love how they're doing a lot of things in episode 3. We got some nice storylines from Damon and the Blackwoods and Brackens, but we also have some nice setup, it looks like, for the Battle of Rook's Rest. And, of course, our first look, other than trailer looks, but our first in-episode look at Baela and Moondancer as well, which is something I'm really excited to see. I mean, we know we are getting 5 new dragons this season. Some concept art has come out a few weeks ago. This was some of the official concept art for Baela's Moondancer. I love what they did with Moondancer's head. It's very kind of dinosaur raptor-like. It kind of comes off very dinosaur-y, and I think it looks pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing Bela and Moondancer. They are they're definitely going to take part in the events a little bit sooner than they did in the books, which we did hear Ryan Condal say before the show started, that they are going to get the children of the dance involved a little bit earlier than they do in the book, which is totally cool. I'm fine with that. So yeah, we're going to get some Bela and Moondancer action, guys, in episode 3, and the first of the 5 new dragons that we are getting in season 2. Should be good. Should be good. But after that, we, of course, see, looks like they are having a funeral for the Cargill twins, as we see Rhaenyra presiding over it, and we see this image as well. Looks like they are burying both twins together, which is fitting. I talked about this a little bit in my review for the trailer breakdown, but we do hear Arik speaking to Criston in episode 2, and he does at one point mention that he and his brother were of one soul at one point, and they were. I mean, they did everything together. They're fellow brothers of the Kingsguard. Couldn't even tell them apart. Nobody knew who Eric or Arik was. They were pretty much one person split into 2 bodies. So I think it's just very fitting, symbolically, to kind of bury them together as brothers instead of rival Kingsguard knights.
That scene broke my heart.
It's man,
it broke my heart.
We were talking about this, Kayla. I think Kayla and I were talking about this last night in terms of like really, really good adaptations of the source material. They did the Cargill Bowl justice.
Phenomenal.
It was phenomenal. I can't. There's really not much I can pick apart on it. It was really good.
Yeah, I thought it was done as close to perfect as it could be. And it was just the ending there. Oh my God, it broke my heart. So, yeah, it was great.
It was. It was heartbreaking. It was a little bit heartbreaking, and yeah, I know it's a little bit sad. I mean, I'm gonna miss both of them on the show. They were good presence on the show. In terms of, I know we were just speaking about this earlier. In terms of their, neither side being really good or evil. Both sides have plenty mix of both. But when it comes to individual characters, there's not a whole lot of individual characters that are just outright honorable and good. But I feel like the Cargill twins were. That they did their duty to the last, even at the expense of their own blood. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be sad to see them gone. I really enjoyed them as characters on the show.
So here's a question on that, because I agree with everything you guys just said. I loved it. It was a great moment. The only thing that I get a little tired with George is that every character that's honorable and good and loyal and has a strong sense of duty always dies.
Mm.
And it's like, just one, like, I like the fact that the one brother survived and then kills himself. That's awesome, right? That it's just his honor and his duty, yes, is to his queen, but first it's to his brother. And he took his brother's life. He threw away that bond. And so he's going to kill himself. I like that.
But why he did.
Right. It would have been great, though. I just need a character that's decent to live. Like, just one at some point.
Mm-hmm. No, I see what you mean. You mean. Because we do see that theme kind of happen, a lot, where, sometimes the good and honorable character doesn't last too long. And I think it speaks to the kind of just the savage nature of the political landscape of Westeros, where the nice guy usually doesn't finish first. The nice guy usually finishes last. We saw it very early on in Game of Thrones with Ned Stark, where he had, the most honorable of intentions, but didn't really quite know how to, quote unquote, play the game like Tyrion or Varys or Littlefinger did. And we saw he paid the ultimate price because of it. So yeah, if nothing else, George does have that theme throughout A Song of Ice and Fire, where the honorable characters sometimes don't have, they're not able to bend in order to play the game like some of these other characters can. Do we have a title for episode 3 yet? As of starting this stream, as of last I looked, no. I haven't seen an official title for episode 3 yet. I have seen a few rumors, but we had a bunch of rumors for what the title of episode 2 was going to be, and all of them were wrong. So no, I haven't seen anything official until I actually see it from HBO. I kind of don't really pay attention to the episode titles that have been leaked. The only episode title we do know is episode 4 is going to be titled The Dance of the Dragons. That one they did announce early on, just because I think everybody knew that the Battle of Rook's Rest was coming in episode 4. So it seems like they just didn't mind putting that episode title out. But no, I have not gotten an official title for episode 3 yet. Just seen some rumors, but again, the episode 2 rumors were all wrong. So I don't know. Not quite sure. Let's see what else we got. The costuming in this show has been top notch. It really has been.
Absolutely, yeah.
It really
Sets
has
are
been.
great,
I mean,
yeah.
you can't knock the costumes. They really are full. I mean, they're as perfect as you would want them to be for the world of Westeros. It's very fitting. It does kind of transport you back to that medieval time, and I like what they're doing with Rhaenyra in particular. She's always kind of got that nice kind of elegant look to her. Rhaenyra is always very well dressed, and Emma D'Arcy looks great in the role too. But yeah, no, the costumes have been great. I mean, phenomenal costumes. But that's the thing. And I mean, that's one thing I feel like even Game of Thrones was pretty good at as well. They always really nailed the kind of the aesthetic of Westeros, I guess. Good stuff. Very good stuff.
Definitely.
Radical Z
down to
says,
the-
my guess. Oh, sorry, Snug.
Yeah, down to the medieval coffee cup.
Yep.
The Starbucks cup.
This one's a little better. At least this one isn't Starbucks. Yeah. I forgot about that. How did I forget about
that was
the
good.
Starbucks cup? Yeah. And the Starbucks cup wasn't even the only mistake in season 8 of Game of Thrones. There was
That's a
actually
water
a
bottle,
water
too.
bottle. Yeah, the water
To be
bottle
put there.
during the dragon pit scene when Tyrion's giving his big speech in the dragon pit scene. There's a little water bottle sitting right next to one of the chairs. If you go and watch these episodes now, HBO has since edited these episodes out, so it's really hard to find footage of the cup and of the water bottle now. But there was even one other mistake that not many people caught in season 7 of Game of Thrones that I caught right off the freaking bat, and I even mentioned it in my episode review when that came around. If you go back to, I mean, it's been since edited out now, but if you went back to season 7, the episode of the Battle Beyond the Wall, when Jon and the Suicide Squad, the Westerosi Suicide Squad, are trapped on the frozen lake with the others and the White Walkers all surrounding them. There's one shot when they flash to the Night King when he's up on the hill. And just in the corner of the screen, the top left-hand corner, you can see the back tail light of a frickin' Ford F-150 truck. I swear to God, it was there. It was there. They've edited it out since, but I remember watching that episode live, and I saw it live. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I paused it. I rewound. I'm going to have to go back into my archives and look for the picture because I know I took a screenshot of it. So I'm going to try and find it for tomorrow's stream, and we'll take a look at it. But yeah, there was a little, you could just barely see the taillights of a Ford F-150 truck in that episode as well. It was hilarious.
Proving that Westeros is built Ford tough.
Build Ford tough, exactly. Good stuff.
I got it.
But yeah,
I'll send it to you here.
just hilarious. Absolutely hilarious stuff. And again, I mean, you hate to see mistakes like that happen. And even House of the Dragon actually had some mistakes in season 1 as well. There was actually one scene, a Viserys scene in season 1 of House of the Dragon when he was just starting to get decayed and decrepit right after he loses the 2 fingers on one of his hands. There's one scene where they have the green tape taped around his 2 fingers that they used to kind of edit out in post. They forgot to edit it out in post in one scene. In one scene, you can see where he's supposed to be missing 2 fingers. You see 2 little green taped fingers. It's hilarious. So it happens. I mean, these mistakes happen, I guess, every once in a while. Beyond the Wall, my favorite episode of Game of Thrones. I enjoyed the episode. I thought it could have been handled better, but I didn't hate it as much as some other fans did. I enjoyed parts of it. I feel like they had a good idea there, and I know a lot of people didn't like the idea that Tyrion came up with in terms of capturing a wife and bringing it down to Cersei. As dangerous and kind of ridiculous as it was, I get what they were going for. They figured Cersei will never believe this unless she sees it for herself. And there were some good moments in that episode, I thought. I mean, Thoros of Myr was one of my favorite characters. I really enjoyed Thoros. Seeing him go out the way that he did was a very good scene. The Hound was pretty good in that episode as well. You got to see some very nice back and forth and some nice bantering between the Hound and Tormund, which was forever one of my favorite scenes. Get your fucking hands off me. The Hound and Tormund, I could watch a spinoff just from them 2 alone, and I would never get bored. But yeah, had some good moments in that episode. Definitely had some good moments in that episode. But up next, we see looks like we get a little preview of some of the action between the Blackwoods and the Brackens. And here we get a much better look at what looks to be Benjicor Blackwood. And I cannot wait to see what they do with this. Again, I mean, I know we know what happens, or the events, the versions of events that happen in Fire and Blood when it comes to the Battle of the Burning Mill and how that leads to the kind of subsequent taking of Stonehenge as well. But I get the feeling that is definitely not going to play out the same way on the show as it did in the books, just because of where Damon is right now. In Fire and Blood, Damon has already been established at Harrenhal. Damon takes Harrenhal much earlier in the book. So by the time the Battle of the Burning Mill comes around, he kind of has a very nice, clever deception and ends up taking Stonehenge in a very clever way. But seeing as episode 3 is going to be focusing on Damon going to Harrenhal and this Bracken and Blackwood action, I'm getting a feeling the show version is going to be a little bit different and probably a condensed version, if nothing else. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the Blackwood and Brackens, and I know you are, all this.
Hell yeah. No, this is going to be great, man. For a kid, oh, man, I could rant about this kid for a while. He does a lot of awesome stuff. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It is going to be good, especially if you're not a fan of good old Boros Baratheon as well.
I mean, I just hope they do the lads justice. You know, it's like
hopefully they do. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Hopefully, at least it wasn't a Chevy, says Henry Bemis. So Westeros buys an American
or a Nissan, man. How embarrassing would it be to have a Titan pull up?
Yeah, at least it's American made. That's good point, MKXD. Battle of the Bastards is the best battle in Game of Thrones, and it's definitely one of them. Like for me, I go back and forth between the Battle of the Blackwater and the Battle of the Bastards. I feel like those are definitely the two best battles in Game of Thrones. I love the Battle of the Bastards just for the themes that is woven in and out of it, and for the very particular way that it's filmed. I feel like they filmed the Battle of the Bastards brilliantly in terms of telling the whole story from Jon's POV, really getting right into the thick of things. You get that really great POV shot of Jon going right through the battle, and you really get a sense of just how chaotic a medieval full-pitch ground battle really must have been like, where you see just crazy stuff happening left and right. Jon's talking to one of his men just as he catches an arrow in the eye. There's just chaos going off all over the place. I really feel like they filmed the Battle of the I feel like the Battle of the Bastards is better filmed, but I feel like the story in Blackwater I enjoyed a little bit more. I enjoyed the story that they told during the Battle of the Blackwater just a little bit more. Seeing Tyrion really come to the forefront for the first time and really kind of stepping up and leading the charge on defending the city from Stannis of all people, who is a very experienced and seasoned battle commander himself. Stannis is a freaking badass. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget. So I really enjoyed Blackwater in terms of just the overall story that it told, where really giving Tyrion that chance to kind of shine. That freaking great battle speech that we get from Tyrion just inside the walls of the Red Keep, just as they go through the hidden passage. I think I enjoyed the story of the Blackwater Bay battle more, but in terms of the spectacle, I mean, it's hard to get better than the Battle of the Bastards. That was filmed freaking beautifully. And then seeing Ramsay finally freaking get his, it was more satisfying. I would say the Battle of the Bastards was a little more satisfying as a viewer, as a Stark fan anyway, for me. But what about you guys? Do you have a favorite battle on Game of Thrones that you guys prefer? And definitely let us know in the chat as well, guys. What is your favorite battle from Game of Thrones or from House of the Dragon as well? I know there haven't been a whole lot of battles on House of the Dragon yet, or really any yet. But let us know, what were some of your favorite battles in Game of Thrones? What about you, Kayla? You have a favorite battle?
So the two that you mentioned, that everyone mentions, and then I actually really liked the Watchers on the Wall when the wildlings were fighting the Night's Watch. I don't feel like it gets talked about enough, although in the books it was way more of a spectacle, and it went on a lot longer. I really loved that. And I also, in season 7, I liked the loot train attack in the Spoils of War when Khaleesi came in on Drogon and just started burning shit, and you have the Dothraki running through to the Lannisters' army and everything, and just they're running through fire and just kicking ass. It was so awesome. Like it was crazy. It got me hyped.
It was good. It was good. And the loot train battle really kind of portrays just how much a dragon can
Dragon
turn the
can
tide of
do.
any battle. And it really showcased how freaking fierce the Dothraki are in open
Oh
combat.
my
They are
god.
near unbeatable
They were
when it comes to
jumping
just
on the
throwing.
horses,
They're
like
jumping over horses.
like
They're taking out
everything.
Lannisters left and right. I mean, even Bronn, as skilled
Yeah.
as a fighter as Bronn is, even Bronn had trouble handling one single Dothraki rider. So yeah, that was a really fun battle. But again, it portrays the strength of Daenerys and her dragons, but it really showcases just how fierce the Dothraki are in open combat and how really no army can kind of stand against them. I would love to see. I know we see it throughout the history of A Song of Ice and Fire. We get some really good battles between the Dothraki and the Unsullied, which are absolutely freaking savage. That would have been really cool to see on screen, even though they were on the same side during Game of Thrones.
And
But yeah,
Hardhome.
good
I
stuff.
loved Hardhome. I loved
Okay.
Hardhome, even though it's such a deviation away from the books, because we
Mhm.
don't even know what happens at Hardhome, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
just loved how that was filmed. Those scenes were filmed in that episode. I loved seeing, obviously, Jon killed the White Walker and everything.
Jon take out the White
So,
Walker. And
yeah.
that's the episode where we learn that Valyrian steel
It's
can kill
steel.
walkers.
Yes.
Yeah, we knew the dragon glass could up until that point. We see Sam the Slayer take out the walker, but until then we didn't. I think a lot of us thought it would work, but that was when it was actually confirmed that Valyrian steel would also kill others as well. No, that was a fun episode. Like you said, it's a deviation from the books, but it was a fun action scene. The Hound at Blackwater, hell yes, you can't
Yes.
forget about the
That
Hound
was
at Blackwater.
that was like the
He's
best.
so
He's
fucking good.
He's like, fuck the king.
Fuck the king. Fuck the
Fuck
king's
this.
god. Fuck the city.
The
He
Hound
gave
has
no
like the
fuck.
best lines. I
The Hound
swear.
has some of the best freaking dialogue of all time. Like
Yes.
I can't get over how good the Hound's dialogue is. He's just he's that good. He is that
He is
good.
that good.
Fucking chicken in this room. I'm gonna have to eat. Bring me one of those chickens.
And the way the actor there delivered the lines too, it was just perfect.
It was great. It really was just. And in terms of good casting, like Rory was phenomenal
Perfect.
as the Hound. Just
Yes.
great, just absolutely great casting. And that's one thing these shows have been really known for is just phenomenal casting. As Divine Chakra brings up, Rhys Ifans and Tom Glencarney have been shining this season, and I could not agree with you
Oh
more.
my
They have
God.
definitely been probably
Yes.
some of the standouts. Although Rhaenyra as well. Emma D'Arcy has some phenomenal scenes as Rhaenyra in that first episode. Just seeing that torment and that grief from a mother losing their child. I feel like those three so far have been the kind of standouts in the seasons. But yeah, just great acting on this show. I really like that. But MKXD likes the Blackwater. Awesome. It was Ramsay finally going up against the strongest Stark and being utterly destroyed. Absolutely. And it was glorious to see. I mean, I think a lot of us had wanted to see Ramsay, get his for a very long time up until that point. And the payoff was worth it in the Battle of the Bastards, for sure. Henry Bemis says Blackwater Bay, the part where the drums start up as the ships approach King's Landing is incredible. Hell yes. We get the drum off as King's Landing starts beating their drums and Davos in return starts beating their drums. You just can tell that you can cut the tension with a knife during that freaking scene where shit is getting ready to pop off. So that's a good part. Grizzly says Battle of the Bastards, 100%. Hell yes. We got a lot of votes for the Battle of the Bastards and the Blackwater. I love it. Blackwater gave me Siege of Constantinople from 7th century vibes with the wildfire.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, the way they lure the ship into the bay and blow it up like that. Good point. Very good point. Yeah. The one on Spoils of War episode, yes, the Loot Train one that you were mentioning earlier, Kayla, the Loot Train battle, phenomenal one. They did adapt Book Jon perfectly in Battle of the Bastards, so I'll give D&D that at least. I mean, I know Jon on the show is a little bit more heroed up than he is in the books. Like, Jon in the books is very much a leader, but they show Jon a much more prominent, like, single combat fighter, which I was fine with. I mean, he was the main protagonist for the show. He's Jon freaking Snow. He's Azor Ahai Reborn, which I am very much convinced of. So I was totally fine with them kind of making Jon kind of very formidable on the show. But I like both versions. I mean, there's versions of show Jon that I really enjoy, and then there's a lot of versions of book Jon that I really enjoy. So I genuinely like both versions of Jon, for sure. I'm hoping they give the Brackens. I'm hoping they give Brackens victories because the Blackwoods so obviously have Arthur Pet powers. I love that one because of the Scorpion. Yeah, I mean the Scorpions we're definitely going to see. I imagine a lot of them in House of the Dragon as well, especially when like we get to the Battle of the Gullet. We're going to see the Scorpions have some devastating effects. I get the feeling with a certain dragon. But yeah, good stuff. Having a dragon is like having an aircraft carrier. It's the ultimate advantage. It is, and that's why they kind of, George refers to it as the nuclear option, and it really well is. I mean, we saw it happen with Aegon the Conqueror, where he had, his army was a fraction of the size of a lot of the armies that he was conquering when he first started invading Westeros, but he had 3 freaking dragons and 3 badass dragon riders to go with it. So yeah, they can turn the tide. Anytime they can turn the tide. I'm not ready for Rhaenyra's downfall. Emma D'Arcy is too likable in the role. Absolutely. I mean, there's going to be some heartbreaking moments in House of the Dragon, especially if you are attached to a lot of these characters like Rhaenyra, whether it's Damon, Alicent, Otto. Like, there's a lot of tragic events that happen during the Dance of the Dragons. It's and the Dragons. I think, as bad as it is losing some of these phenomenal characters and, the actors and actresses portraying them, I'm really not ready to see all these freaking dragons start dropping like flies. You guys know me. I'm Team Dragon at the end of the day. Seeing these dragons die is going to be freaking heartbreaking. I'm not ready for I won't spoil what happens, but I will just say I'm not ready for the dragon pit scene. I'm just not ready for that. It probably won't be till season 4, but I'm not ready for that scene. That scene is going to be freaking nuts. Absolutely nuts. Euron enters the chat. LMAO, that was CW level casting. Yeah, when it comes to Euron on Game of Thrones, I mean, has there ever been a more miscast character on the entire series? I don't know. I feel like he was the worst cast. And the actor, Pylo, behind the actor who played Euron, he's a good actor. He's been in some phenomenal roles. But the way they wrote Euron on the show, I mean, anyone who's read A Song of Ice and Fire and read the book version of Euron, when you see the show version of Euron, it's almost laughable how kind of pathetic they make him compared to the book version. So as fond as the actor that I was really disappointed with show Euron. I feel like they just completely missed the mark in terms of the character that George crafted. But that's just me. The one on the Night's Watch, defended the wall from the wildlings, was a good one. Yes, that was a very good one. Absolutely. Hell yes. I think Rhaenyra's downfall will be a red wedding moment if done correctly. Ooh, interesting. Very well could be. We got some big moments to look forward to. Some very big moments to look forward to. But yeah, let's dive into some of the rest of this trailer now. Let's see where I was. Blackwood and Bracken action. Yeah. In terms of this, again, I'm not 100% sure how much they're going to do with the Blackwoods and Brackens. I'm not expecting a full-pitched battle for the Burning Mill. But I am expecting at least a little bit of a conflict to break out between the two. And at least, if nothing else, we get the introduction of young Ben Jakor, who's going to be a phenomenal character. Let's see. Up next, we see Criston Cole, and he's got the Hand of the King necklace around him. We saw in episode 2 that Otto was unceremoniously removed from the position as Hand of the King, and Criston Cole was promoted. And I've been loving the memes that have been going around, where when you're horrible at your job and they just keep promoting you, and it's got a picture of Criston's face looking all sad. There's been some really good memes. Throughout the fandom. Crispin. But yeah, I mean, he'll always be Crispin for me. I mean, I get so many comments in my videos saying, why do you call him Crispin? And I just always try to, remind people of the nickname that Damon gave him in season 1. For me, he'll always be Crispin. He'll never be Criston Cole again. You are forever Crispin. Crispy Crispin, as I like to call him. But yeah, it should be pretty interesting to see him kind of take over now that he is in the role of Hand of the King, and it seems like he does have Aegon's ear. It seems like I think we're going to see a drastic change in terms of the approach to the war, where Alicent and Otto were very much preaching patience to Aegon, giving him a chance to kind of bide his time, gather up his forces, get to full strength before you go and strike at the enemy. But Criston Cole, of course, I think he's a little more rash. I think he's a little more, inexperienced when it comes to tactical thinking. So it seems like the Greens are going to go right on the offensive now that Criston is in that power position of hand with him having the ear of Aegon. And I think that's only going to create some more tension between Aegon and Alicent as well.
It's also going to change him and Aemon's relationship completely as well, too.
Yep, it is. It is. Because we've seen so far up to this point, Aemond and Crispin seem to have a pretty good relationship in terms of they're kind of a similar mind in terms of how they should approach this war and going on the offensive and all that. But in particular, after the Battle of Rook's Rest, I think we're really going to start seeing Aemond and Crispin clash a lot more, for sure.
Absolutely.
But you see the look on Alicent's face here in this scene, and this is right at the point where Aegon is saying, fine, to war then. And you can just see the look of dread on Alicent's face where she is completely realizing that her influence is all but gone at this point. And we saw that was a huge concern for her in episode 1 as well, where she was, telling Otto, you can't question me in front of the boys. They're going to start, my influence is going to start waning. And it has been, and it's continuing to do so. And it's at the point now where I don't think Alicent has a whole lot of sway over any of them now. And you can see that look of dread on her face, just knowing that this war is about to break up, knowing that Crispin is freaking fueling it. And I wonder, could this potentially create some rifts between Alicent and Crispin as well? We have seen they've gotten a little bit closer, obviously. And obviously they definitely have two totally different approaches to the war. I wonder if Crispin kind of being quick to hop on the march and leaving King's Landing with the bulk of the forces of the Greens, I'm wondering if this is going to create some tension between these two as well.
I think so. I think so, since they put the relationship in there. I think it will.
Yeah. Although I guess it depends on Crispin if he even returns to King's Landing at any point, anytime soon. If Fire and Blood is any guide, this might be the last time these two characters see each other for a very long time, if at all.
Very true.
So I guess it's going to be interesting to see what they do there. I mean, how is the Battle of Rook's Rest going to play out, and how is the aftermath of Rook's Rest going to play out? Are they going to go directly into the next kind of event in Fire and Blood? Will the Greens potentially retreat back to King's Landing and regroup before they move again? That's one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing, because in Fire and Blood, it's pretty much just described as event after event after event after event, with not much kind of story and dialogue in between, whereas the show needs to kind of fill in those holes. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to seeing, how they fill in the in-between between a lot of these big events. What is the in-between going to look like? What's the dialogue going to look like? Which is in large part going to be kind of made up for the show. Fire and Blood has next to no dialogue. But I did like the two or three little callbacks they had to Fire and Blood in episode 2. In particular, when Aegon was stripping Otto of his position, we hear a few, again, Fire and Blood doesn't have a whole lot of dialogue, but the little bit of dialogue that is in it is pretty good. And we get this one thing where King Aegon is, really upset with Otto at this point in the books. He says, "Spill blood, not ink," which we got that line in the show, which was a pretty good callback to the books. We also got another one when he's talking about Criston Cole is saying, "My new hand will be a steel fist." And even so far as the one that Crispin says, that we will repay the queen back in her bloody coin. I'm loving the callbacks to Fire and Blood. It just shows that they do have a real appreciation for the source material.
Yeah. And Aegon, I don't like him as a character, but the actor is doing a pretty good job.
Oh my God.
Just very impetuous.
Tom Glencarney was phenomenal last episode.
Yeah.
He is. I mean, and I kind of agree with you, both of you, and I agree with you, King Judah, as well. As I'm not really, I've never been a big fan of Aegon. Obviously, he's a very flawed character. But, seeing his reaction to Blood and Cheese, just seeing that visceral reaction of a father losing his child and heir. And yes, just because Tom Glencarney is so good in the role, he's almost making Aegon a slightly more likable character just because he's so freaking good in the role. But he is still despicable at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
Not going to lie, becoming a fan of Aegon, he's so relatable. He's not perfect, but when given the chance, he wanted to become a benevolent king to his subjects. And that's actually a good point. And we do see that in episode 1 when he's kind of holding court in the Iron Throne Room, and this shepherd kind of travels all this way to hopefully get reimbursed for some of its sheep. And Aegon was like, yes, we will restore your sheep fully. And, Otto kind of pulls him aside and, kind of schools him and lets him know, like, hey, that's not how this works. There's a reason a tax is in place, yada, yada. But at first, it seems like his first instinct was to help in that moment, and he did that with Hugh the Hammer as well, with the blacksmith, where he says our efforts, depend on the labors of the small folk. So there is that small part of him, at least, that kind of wants to maybe be a good king, even though he wasn't taught, even though he wasn't prepped for this role. It seems like he wants to at least try. So I can appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I can appreciate that. Absolutely. And yeah, the actor's just doing a phenomenal job. The Greens consistently don't screw the common folk over. And that's the thing. When it comes to the Greens, like, Helena is very beloved by the people of King's Landing in the book. Like, when, what happens to Helena happens to her, the town, the city of King's Landing just becomes irate. They very much love Helena. They seem to like Alicent a lot. So yeah, that's the thing. The people of King's Landing, they can kind of flip flop back and forth, where at times they seem to really like Rhaenyra, and at times they seem to really support the Greens. But I'm looking forward to getting a little bit more of that POV from that small folk point of view, especially with Hugh the Hammer. And I know we don't get a whole lot of Hugh the Hammer in Fire and Blood, but I really like how they're fleshing that character out on the show much more than in the book, where they made him a resident of King's Landing, for one, which is a bit of a change, and they also gave him a family as well. So these are the kind of things that I like. These are the things that we don't get in Fire and Blood, that Fire and Blood just doesn't have enough time to kind of touch on, that the show really can flesh out these characters in these moments a little bit more than the book had the opportunity to. And I think Hugh the Hammer is a great example of that, where they're really kind of peeling back the layers of this character. And maybe it's because they have a really prominent actor in the role in Kieran Bew, which is phenomenal. This guy's such a good actor. If you guys really like Hugh the Hammer, definitely check out Warrior. He's great as Bill. But I really like how they're kind of fleshing these characters out a little bit more. And I get the feeling we're going to see that POV of the small folk through these kind of characters, like Hugh the Hammer, maybe even like Ulf the White, which we get introduced to in this episode as well. So I really like how they're fleshing these small folk characters out a little bit more and giving them a proper POV, which they don't really get in the book. So that's cool. More Hugh the Hammer, I say. More Hugh the Hammer. I've been seeing people online comparing season 1, episode 8 with season 2, episode 2. I wonder which one y'all think is better. For me, hands down, season 1, episode 8. I mean, I feel like that is definitely the best episode House of the Dragon has put forward yet, in large part thanks to just the brilliant performance of Paddy Considine in his final episode of the show. That one throne room scene, him entering that throne room, the scene between him and Damon, where Damon picks up his crown, places it on his head. And then when you find out later that scene in particular was never scripted, was never even meant to happen. Apparently, when they were filming that scene, Viserys' crown was never meant to fall off of his head. It fell off of his head by accident. And he and Matt Smith, they're so in tune with these characters. They know the characters that they're playing so well that they saw the falling of the crown off of Viserys' head. They saw it as an opportunity, and they went with it. And it turned out to be one of the most touching scenes in the entire freaking season, seeing Damon pick up that crown, help his brother to the throne, and placing that crown on his head. I love when scenes like that just kind of come out of thin air in our improv that weren't really scripted out. So for me, it's hard to beat season 1, episode 8. I feel like that is the best episode of House of the Dragon yet. Seeing Paddy Considine in that throne room scene, and then seeing Paddy Considine in the dinner scene later on, was probably even more heartwarming, where you're seeing this guy just use the last of his strength, knowing that this will probably kill him, the last of his strength to try and bring his family back one last time before he passes. And that great speech he gives at that dinner table. Yeah, for me, it's really hard to beat episode 8. What about you guys? Do you think episode 2 topped episode 8 in season 1?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I
mean, it was. I think. I think it was Henry Bemis. Much earlier in the show, one of his comments was the first 2 episodes have been slower paced, but not in a bad way. I think that's the best way to put it. It's the pacing, the time flies, but it's just a little slow, if that makes sense. And like
Yeah.
there's not action beats, which again is fine. I know what they're doing. They're setting up exposition. Like I said, there's a lot of metaphorical
character
building that's
development,
going on. And I think it's fine, but I don't think we've risen to that level yet. I think it's coming for sure with how they're setting the table. But it's just my opinion on it.
No, I agree.
Awesome. What about you, Kayla? Did you prefer one or the other?
Season 1, episode 8, by far, I think is the best. You know, that scene there brought tears to my eyes. So that hasn't.
It was such a touching scene.
There hasn't been anything that has emotionally touched me to that point this season.
Yep.
Although I will say, Tom Glencarney, his performance has been phenomenal this season.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It has. It has. I mean, the way episode 2 began with just seeing again that visceral reaction from Tom Glencarney, that was some of the best acting on the show.
It was.
I'll kill them! I'll kill them all! Strike is a villains! They dare strike at me! I am the king! Yes. I am the king! Please, your grace. This is war! I declare war! I declare war!
Just everything, his facial expressions, everything. It was
so good.
Phenomenal. I was so impressed. I was extremely impressed by everything that he did within that second episode. And it was so different than anything else we've seen from him so far within the series. So great to see.
Yeah.
Good acting. Just good old. Sorry.
I think season 2 is just lacking. I mean, Patty Constantine just dominates the entire first season pretty much, and there's not really someone who's kind of come in to take that place, and maybe that kind of fits with the series.
I would disagree with that, honestly. I think Reese as Otto Hightower. I think he stole the show so far.
Yeah,
he's the one that's got the most range and is really setting. It's more of a background. He's not in the forefront, right? Again, it goes back to what I was saying. Like a story like this, man, you need to have those the 1B and the 2A characters to really make it work. And this show works because they're all there. And sometimes that 1B rises up to be a tier 1, and sometimes they kind of fall back as the story progresses, but they're all there whenever they're needed. And as you know, the plot calls upon them, they rise up and they perfectly bridge what they have to bridge, and then they can fall back to their secondary role. And it's the acting right now of Reese from season 1 into the season 2. It's just brilliant. I mean, he's a character you absolutely love to hate. And there's something just like Criston Cole, man. This guy, Cole's much more upfront. He's vocal. He's offensive in his actions.
Yeah.
Otto is manipulative and cunning and just, God, you hate him for what he's manipulating his grandchildren through his daughter. Like, dude, you're their grandfather. And, you know, and then he even says, at that one clip that Jeremy played, like the plan that we put together, it's not her plan. Allison was never involved in that. It's his plan.
His plan. It's always been his plan.
But
He's a horrible father.
Right. He's putting her in the position where he's associating the guilt and the planning on her. She's not part of it, but he's got to thread her, right? He's got to hook her with the thread and then pull so that she'll do what he wants. And it's just, even at his lowest, he's still pulling threads on his own daughter. It's just, man, only Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon have characters that are just this despicable, but you want to see more of.
Yes, and that's such. I mean, it really is a testament to George's writing and the writing for House of the Dragon. Where yes, I mean, you see these despicable characters where in any other circumstance you would never even dream of kind of wanting to see more of them, but they're just so good in their roles that you just want to see more of them on screen, or at least I do sometimes. But yeah, Vic brings up a very, very, very poignant line in the words of Tywin Lannister. any man who has to call himself the king is no true king. And I do feel like we got some glimpses of Tywin in Otto in episode 2. I know a lot of people like to compare those two characters a lot, but I feel like they are two totally different characters. But just in this episode alone, we did see some Tywin attributes in Otto, and I feel like he played it freaking beautifully. It was phenomenal acting, absolutely phenomenal. Good stuff, guys. And it seems like a lot of you in the chat were also saying that you liked episode 8 a little bit more as well, which is awesome stuff. Or whether you like this episode more, that is totally cool as well. But we have a $5 super chat from Leo V. Thank you so much, Leo V, for the $5 super chat. Olivia Cook had no idea in season 2 she would go viral with her and Cole memes. House of the Dragon season 1 had no memes of this magnitude. It really didn't. I mean, I remember a few small ones there and here and there, but the level of memery I am seeing in season 2 of House of the Dragon has definitely trumped season 1, and a lot of them have been way freaking funnier too. Yeah, I agree with you there. The memes have been on freaking point. I really love, that was my favorite one that I saw the other day, where you just see this picture of Criston Cole. He's looking all depressed. He's looking down, and the caption of, when you're really bad at your job, but they keep promoting you. It's just so perfectly fits his character. Really good stuff. And thank you so much, Leo, for the $5 super chat, my friend. You guys know what that means. A woe is on the way, heading Leo's way.
Whoa!
You know what, too? Matt Smith is just phenomenal. Without even saying anything, his facial expressions at the table, at the table, they were just so goddamn good. Like, just every
and I love how when the facial expressions were on freaking point, but one thing I really love is when Rhaenys and Rhaenyra look over at him, they both instantly know that it was him that did Blood and Cheese. They instantly freaking know.
Yeah,
right
they grill
away.
him. They ice grill him. Like
ice grill. You see, because it's funny. I mean, you hear them talking about this Blood and Cheese event and how tragic it is and how much it's going to kind of be a detriment to Rhaenyra's position. And the whole time, Matt Smith just has a fucking smile on his face. He's just cheesing the whole time. You look over at Rhaenys. Rhaenys is looking right at freaking Damon like, holy shit, I know that was you. Then we see Rhaenyra look over at him, and then she realizes in that moment, like, holy shit, this was fucking you, Damon. And Damon's just got that smile on his face. He's so proud of himself.
And the conversation we had afterwards was good too, I thought. This scene with him and Rhaenyra when he was explaining, like, I've done this and I've done that. And like, because it's true, everything that he has done is pretty much, you know, for her and his family.
Like Zach Tanner says, Damon literally gives zero fucks, and he plays it so well. Like he really does.
Yes.
There's not one fuck to give when it comes to Damon. Whenever I think of Damon, he's the rogue prince. There's a reason he's the rogue prince. Exactly. And when I think of Damon, this kind of clip, this is why I'll always have this clip on stream, and I'll probably never delete it, because it kind of just perfectly encapsulates who Damon is.
I will never ever concede. I'm coming for each and every one of them. Come to my door and see what happens.
I love it.
That's Damon in a nutshell right there. He is every bit of fire and blood that you would expect out of a Targaryen. And yeah, he gives no fucks. And I think that's why so many people love him. Whereas even some of the writers have kind of questioned why everybody loves Damon so much. And I think it's because it's Matt Smith. It's his freaking performance. He's so good in this role that you can't, I mean, despite all the vile and black stuff that he does at times, you still just, at least for me anyway, you can't help but like Damon. He's just such a likable character. And I think that is because of Matt Smith.
Yeah,
well, I think it's also
charismatic.
Right. Well, it's definitely because of the casting. There's a part of that, but it also goes back to what we were talking about earlier. And George gives Second Sons this grandiose character. And because, like you all were saying, the Second Son can take more risks, so he doesn't have the burden upon him. In Damon's case, it's not a burden; it's a chip. He carries a chip on his shoulder because of what happened, and he's dragging that all the time. He's constantly proving that they made the wrong choice. And I think that's part of to go back a little bit and to talk about Blood and Cheese. One of the things I saw today, and actually Mrs. Aldous brought it up when we watched the first episode, was it was so easy for Blood and Cheese to obviously get in. There was no guards, and we talked a little bit about that. That did Criston leave his post? Eric challenged him on that in episode 2. Do you think Larys at all had any idea that was going on? Because I've seen some talk on that in some of the forums.
I have seen the talk. Yeah, I have seen the theories kind of develop because we get that one in particular scene of Larry's and Allison in episode 1, where Larry's is telling her that he's completely cleared out the entire household of anyone who would potentially betray her, and he's replaced them with staff that he personally chose. So I think that scene definitely kind of led some people to believe that maybe Larry's had a hand in Blood and Cheese, maybe. I don't know. I don't think he did. I mean, I suppose anything's possible, but I don't know. I think at least I think that's where those theories are probably coming from. That scene from Allison and Larry's. But no, I'm not sure. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think Larry's could have had a hand in Blood and Cheese? And let us know in the chat as well. Do you guys think Larry's could have had any kind of hand in Blood and Cheese? I don't know. I think that was more Mysaria and Damon, but I could be wrong. Kayla, what do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think it would make sense for him to do, to be honest. I think that it's too risky for his character to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's too risky.
You too, Snug?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Too risky.
Interesting. It is a risky move. I mean, it definitely is a risky move. I mean, it seems like up until this point, Larry's has kind of firmly established himself to be on the side of the Greens. As much skullduggery as he ends up doing a little bit later on in the dance. I don't know. I get the feeling he probably didn't have anything to do with Blood and Cheese, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. Second sons have to go out and earn their glory. And yeah, it's very true. I mean, we see that in season 1, where Corlys comes to Damon and asks him for help to help down in the Stepstones in defeating the Crab Feeder. And, Corlys kind of gives him that speech where, we're the second sons of the realm, even though he's not a second son, Corlys anyway. But, you hear Corlys talking about forging their own path. And Corlys is very much a character who also forged his own path with the whole 9 voyages of Corlys Velaryon, really making House Velaryon one of the richest families in the history of Westeros, and that's pretty much thanks to Corlys. Second sons, like you guys said earlier, they just have a little bit more freedom. They can do a little bit more. They're not beholden to the crown and to the throne as much as the firstborn and heir is. And I think that's why George has a lot of fun writing those second son characters. And George has said time and time again, anytime you ask George what his favorite Targaryen is, he always kind of says that's kind of like asking what my favorite children is, but he always brings up that Damon Targaryen is one of his favorite characters, just because, he is that second son. He's that rogue prince where you can just have a lot of fun writing a character like that, I would imagine.
I also think like his characterization and a lot of the interesting characters within the Targaryen line have all carried Dark Sister. So
a lot of them have.
If you think about it, so obviously Visenya first, and Damon, then Aemon Targaryen, the Dragonite, and Brynden Rivers.
Yep.
And Brynden Rivers, we know how I feel about him. I think he's just a compelling character. So so there could be something about that blade as well that's tied into the characterization, just symbolically, what it represents, the characters that carry it.
Yeah, and it's one of those swords that's earned. Damon earns the right to carry Dark Sister. It's not just handed to him because he's a Targaryen princeling. His prowess is what earns him that sword. And I always love swords like that in the book. That's why I'm a huge fan of Dawn when it comes to House Dane and their sword Dawn, where that sword is not guaranteed to the first son of Dorne, at the first son of House Dane at any means. You have to earn that sword. Becoming the Sword of the Morning is a title you earn. It's not just handed to you. So I like swords that have that kind of mythos around them.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with Dark Sister. You have to be a phenomenal warrior to wield its sword. And this sword's not like the other swords because it's thinner. and it's a light blade, and it's smaller.
Yeah. It's a bastard sword, much like Jon Snow's long claw in Game of Thrones. Much easier to wield, than the two-handed greatsword that Blackfire is, for instance. If I could choose between any sword on the show, I probably would always go for Longclaw just because it is a bastard sword. But I would be just as happy with Dark Sister as well, for sure. That scene just implies that the maid ran from blood and informed Larry what was going on. Yeah, when we see blood kind of runs into that one maid. When I first saw that, I thought, okay, could they potentially be setting that up so the maid can identify blood a little bit later on as the one who did perpetrate Blood and Cheese? But no, yeah, it probably just as likely as the maid saw them and then went to inform someone. Because, yeah, that maid took right the fuck off. Blood goes right after that maid, and the hallway's just completely empty by that point. Seems like that maid took off and fast. So, yeah, good point.
Isn't it implied that Laris has spies throughout the household, and so maybe she's one of them? Yeah.
Could be. Larry's is definitely, he's in that kind of, he's not the official Master of Whisperers yet, but he is kind of in that role. And we see even Otto kind of leaning on Larry's trade in episodes 1 and 2, when it comes to the interrogation of blood. Larry's is definitely one of those characters that has informants probably all over the Red Keep and probably all over Westeros even, maybe. Absolutely. MKXD says people were afraid of Maegor, but he still died, probably assassinated. And I go back and forth on that all the time as to whether or not Maegor was assassinated or whether or not he just killed himself. I start to lean a little bit more towards the fact that he killed himself, just given the circumstances that he died under. Now, remember, when Maegor was found, he was found with a blade from the Iron Throne impaled through his throat, but that blade had to physically be bent down so it could impale him. And that gives me the impression that it was Maegor that did it himself. Maegor knew at that point the walls were closing in on him. The whole realm was turning on him. He had to know his reign was coming to an end. And rather than let himself get captured and executed and overthrown, I get the feeling that Maegor just took himself out in that instance. I think he cut himself on the Iron Throne on purpose and impaled himself. He bent that sword himself and killed himself on purpose. That's just kind of the way I see it playing out, a little bit more likely. But it's just as likely, though, he could have been killed as well. That's very much a possibility. What about you, Kayla? When you think about Maegor, do you think he was killed by somebody, or do you think maybe he took himself out?
I never, ever thought of the possibility that he took himself out. So that changes my perspective on things, the way that you described it. So there is the curse of the Iron Throne, of course, but
there is.
I always thought possibly that his downfall probably could have had to deal with one of his wives at the time and everything.
Yes, we saw what happened with his wives. It was all of his wives. It was very dark. We get that revelation that one wife he had, Tiana of the Tower, was secretly behind the all the weird deformed babies that all of his other wives were having. Yeah, there's a lot of creepiness going on there with Maegor and his black brides.
Yes, there's a whole bunch of craziness that occurred there. So I'm not, it is possible, though, the way that you just described it. So that's something I never thought of.
It's just the way that he's
he was
found.
found by Queen Eleanor. He was seated on the Iron Throne, and he was all covered in blood and everything. It was Queen Eleanor that found him.
His wrists were cut, and he was cut through his throat. Now, it's just the way that he was found, the way that the sword was lodged into his throat, it seems like that had to physically be bent outward so it could impale him. And that just leads me to believe that, how would someone be able to sit there, overpower Maegor, bend the Iron Throne like that, and then impale him like that? It just seems a little less likely for me personally.
There's magic involved in some way.
Could be, yeah. Could be. I just tend to think he took himself out. It could be. You never know. I've always leaned a little bit more towards that he took himself out. Again, he knew the realm was crumbling at that point. He knew his reign was coming to an end. Everybody was turning on him. I just think he chose to take himself out rather than to face justice.
Maybe he just tripped.
Or maybe someone infiltrated. I mean, they also said too that it's possible that it could have been someone that was within like a knight of his own Kingsguard, or it could have been someone possibly illusioning. I mean, for all we know, it could have been a faceless man.
Maybe. You never know. You never
Could have been
know.
a faceless assassin.
Could have been. They are very crafty and they're very good at making things
and
look like they weren't like they didn't have a hand involved. They're very good at and skilled and adept at those kind of assassinations. So yeah, that's definitely possible.
I think that could be a possibility. I think it probably was a faceless man. That's what I think. I think a faceless assassin took him out. Definitely.
Interesting. Yes. We have another. This is a very interesting one. Who's worse, Aegon the Fourth or Maegor? Ooh, Mimo Escobar. Very good question. They are both. I mean, when it comes to the two worst Targaryen kings, it's got to be between them two. I mean, you could maybe make a case for the Mad King as well, but considering the damage that was done to the realm after their reign was over, I feel like Aegon IV did the most damage to Westeros in terms of legitimizing all of his bastards, creating House Blackfire, that directly leading to 5 different Blackfire rebellions and countless lives lost. I feel like Aegon IV's reign did more damage overall to Westeros, but I think Maegor was the crueler individual, perhaps.
I think Maegor was cruel, but he also saved the Targaryens dynasty.
He did at one point.
He did.
The Targaryens, I mean, the Faith Militant was really coming for House Targaryen and Aenys, and Aenys was really proven himself to be a very indecisive ruler. Who knows what would have happened to House Targaryen if Maegor didn't come back when he did? So you got to give him that credit as well. I do see that, yeah. But that's a good question. Definitely sound off in the chat as well, guys. Who do you think was worse, Aegon IV, Aegon the Unworthy, or Maegor the Cruel? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're both despicable for so many reasons. But when I think of just the overall damage Aegon IV did to the future of Westeros, I think his reign was more damaging. Although Maegor did a lot of fucked up shit when he was in charge too. I mean, he was only king for a few years and he did so much damage. So you can easily make an argument for both, I think.
Yeah.
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
I think Maegor, well, they're both despicable on personal levels. Maegor definitely is way crueler, I would say.
Yeah.
But Maegor, like I said, I mean, he saved the Targaryens pretty much. If he hadn't done what he did, you know, I mean, yes, he's a sociopath completely, but he the Faith Militant, man.
Yeah, they were coming. They were coming hard. And, and this was during the time when House Targaryen had dragons still, and they still were not backing down. And that's just because of how indecisive a ruler that Aenys was. But yeah, that's a great
granted, he had a great mother, being Visenya, while she was alive and lived. So, I mean, Visenya is very smart, very smart. So
maybe,
yeah,
maybe it's but no, it's a great question, and like I said, I can definitely see really good arguments for both Aegon IV and Maegor. You know, for both of them being worse. I could definitely see, you know, again, they're both freaking despicable at the end of the day. So that's a very good point. You'd get the same if you pissed off Robert, though. Yeah, Robert Baratheon, he had some fury as well, but Robert wasn't cruel. You know, Robert Wood was decisive. Yes. I mean, we saw what Robert did to not only the Targaryen dynasty, but we saw what he did to the Greyjoys as well when they kind of rose up. Robert would not hesitate to crush someone if he had to, but I feel like Robert didn't have that cruelty part of him that some of the Targaryen kings did. Even though Robert has a little bit of Targaryen blood himself, which is why they kind of justified him being king, even though it was kind of won by conquest more than blood. But yeah, I think Robert, while decisive, I don't think he has that cruelty factor. And at the end of the day, Robert did have 17 years, give or take, of a relatively prosperous kind of rule. Then again, a lot of that could be more attributed to Tywin's good rule as well. But yeah, Aegon IV is the worst. We got a vote for Aegon from Mello. We got another vote from Aegon IV, hands down. Another one from Aegon IV.
Yeah, I
Awesome,
agree with
awesome.
that.
Yeah. Aegon IV, such an absolute degenerate, and him legitimizing his bastards caused 80 years of war. And again, I mean, that's kind of why I think I put Aegon, ahead of Maegor, just because the damage that, that the decisions that Aegon made, like you said, damaged the realm for decades to come. So that's why I kind of lean towards Aegon being the worst king of the two. But I do think Maegor was a little bit more cruel for sure. But yeah, Maegor did save their power, as Sid brings up. That's a very good point. And Aegon IV almost ended their power, so that's a good point as well. Yeah, and anytime you're called the unworthy, you're not doing good. That's very true.
I mean,
Very
yeah,
true.
pretty much cruelness versus unworthiness. I'd rather be called cruel than unworthy.
It's like cruelness. Yeah, cruelness versus utter incompetence. Almost. Yeah, good stuff. Very good stuff, guys. Great questions tonight. I love it. Absolutely love it. Aegon IV is the worst king the Iron Throne has ever seen. No comparison. The man set off events that influenced the weakening of the Iron Throne. Very good point. It weakened the realm, but it weakened the very rule of the Iron Throne over the people of Westeros as well. I mean, all the rebellions that popped up in his wake for decades later. Yeah, it's hard to argue that he was the worst of the two kings, for sure. Hearing our Targaryen yell, "Burn them all," is the most terrifying thing in Westeros. The Mad King is the worst. LMAO. Burn them all! Yeah, I mean, you got to make a case for the Mad King as well. That's very true. I mean, what he did to the Starks was just unforgivable. Me being a diehard House Stark fan, I'll never forgive what he did to Brandon and what he did to Rickard. I'll never forgive that. Which, in a lot of ways ended up leading was one of the events anyway that led to Robert's rebellion. So yeah, hearing a Targaryen yell, "Burn them all," is the most terrifying thing in Westeros. I do agree with you there, King Judah. I do agree. Gave away a dragon egg for access to a lord's 3 daughters. Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah, shit.
He did. He did.
That's right.
He did. It's so fucked up. Oh, shit.
I totally forgot about that. Wow, you're right, Elliot. Shit. Good Jaime Lannister Kingslayer took him out. Absolutely. And that's why I really liked how they fleshed Jaime's character out a little bit more on the show when you find out a little bit more about his motives and why he really took out the Mad King. And then when you go back and think that he was labeled Kingslayer for, the duration of his life afterwards, and he never came forward and told his accounting. He kind of just accepted the label that was pressed upon him. He never really came forward and made a very strong case as to why he killed the Mad King, which is I always found a little strange. Like, why didn't Jaime come forth a little bit more and say, no, I had to kill him. He was getting ready to light the entire city on fire. So Jaime, he went against his duty, but he definitely helped the realm overall, I would say, in taking out the Mad King. Aegon IV for damage, Maegor for cruelty. Yes, indeed. Ooh, here's a nice hot take, which I love hot takes. Dany did more damage to the kingdom compared to any of the previous Targaryens. Well, I guess it depends on what Dany you're talking about. If we're talking about book Dany or show Dany, it gets a little different. Show Dany, you might have a case there, Zach. You might have a case there with show Dany. Book Dany, I think, is going to go down a different path. Maybe. I don't know. Great stuff, though. Awesome stuff. Ah, man. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's continue on that season 3, episode 3 teaser. Let's see what else we got next. Where did we leave off? There we go. Here we go. All right, up next we have, of course, we had Sir Crispin. Next, yes, we have some scenes of Damon at Harrenhal.
Woo! I can't wait.
And yes, this is the part of episode 3 I'm looking forward to the most, definitely. I mean, I am a big Damon fan. I love Matt Smith in the role. He's probably one of my favorite characters to watch on screen. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what goes on at Harrenhal, not only with Damon, but I'm really, really looking forward to Alice frickin' Rivers. which we do know is going to be in season 2. And I think we're going to get some really good scenes between Damon and Alice Rivers. There was some leaked dialogue months back when they were casting for the role of Alice Rivers. They were putting out some testing dialogue, and it was a scene between Damon and Alice, and it was just a very interesting scene, and you can really see the banter back and forth where Damon has really kind of met his match in Alice Rivers in terms of wittiness. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the show is going to play out. Now, in the book, In Fire and Blood, Alice Rivers and Damon do share some scenes together, but in the book, it specifically said that Damon is one of the only characters that is resistant to Alice Rivers' charms, because there's a whole lot about Alice Rivers that we still just don't know. I mean, we know she does seem to display a certain level of superhuman abilities in terms of seeing visions in the fire like Melisandre did. But Alice Rivers can also see visions in storm clouds and in pools of water as well. So hers might even be a little more advanced than Melisandre's in some ways. But other than that, we're not 100% sure what else Alice Rivers can do. Of course, she's referred to as a woods witch and the Witch Queen of Harrenhal. So she does seem like she's got something going on there. So I'm looking forward to seeing these scenes between Alice and Damon based on some of the things that we've heard Ryan Condal and the writers say about their meeting. They said they wanted to get Damon to a point where he couldn't tell what was real and what was fake. And I think that's why we see all of these scenes in some of these trailers of Damon running around Harrenhal, either in full armor or in, kind of his nighttime attire. And we even had that one scene of Damon in the Iron Throne room, which was very interesting. Now, obviously, it's very unlikely that Damon would be in the Iron Throne room in season 2. Just considering where the story is going. But we have seen this in many trailers throughout season 2, and we get this scene of Damon walking towards the Iron Throne. And I get the feeling this could potentially be Alice Rivers induced, like maybe she's doing something with him and causing him to have these kind of moments where he can't distinct reality from dream or vision or whatever is going on. But either way, it seems like Alice Rivers and Damon are going to have some very interesting scenes together, and I cannot wait to see what they do there. I can't wait to see Gail Rankin as Alice Rivers. We've seen her in no footage. She hasn't been in any trailers yet. We've gotten no dialogue from her. We really have no idea what Gail Rankin's Alice Rivers is going to look like, what she's going to sound like, etc. They really kept that character under wraps in the promotional material. So this is one of the characters I'm looking forward to seeing most in season 2. What is going to happen with Damon and Alice Rivers? Should be good. You guys looking forward to Damon and the potential taking of Harrenhal?
Hell yeah. That's where that.
Yeah, it's gonna. Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Kayla,
Aldous.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was
go
just
ahead.
gonna say it'll be nice to see Damon do something, and I hope that it has the impact of it should have the impression in my mind of like he's been so restrained, like a horse that's just like waiting and chomping at the bit to just go, that when they finally release him, he's just like a rabid dog, and it should just be a zealous fury of violence out of Damon. Because up till now he's been so restrained really since he got the Driftwood crown. You haven't seen much. He hasn't killed anybody. This is a guy that he needs to kill. Let him kill.
Just let him kill.
Yeah, just let him go. And I know Kayla, you in particular, I know you really loved this scene that we got in some of the trailers where we get that great line of dialogue from Damon where he says, "It's simple. You either surrender or your house burns." It's just so Targaryen, as you pointed out.
The most Targaryen line in all of history, right there. Like historically, that is just the most Targaryen thing ever. And I think that's him in the Riverlands where that's going to happen. I think.
Could be.
I'm not sure
it
when.
Does look like, yeah, I mean, we are still going to get. I'm still looking forward to seeing some of these Vale scenes that we're going to get of Up in the Vale and the Lady Jane Arryn, who they have casted in season 2. I was expecting to see her in the first episode. I was expecting to see a scene of her and Jace, with Jace going to the Vale. But we didn't get that. But maybe we will get a scene of maybe Joffrey and Taraxes going to the Vale. We did in Fire and Blood, and just like in the show, the way that Jace secures the patronage of the Vale is that he agrees to send a dragon and a dragon rider to the Vale in case there is any reprisal from the Greens, and that duty falls to young Joffrey and his dragon Taxis. So I get the feeling that's maybe when we're going to see Lady Jane Arryn on screen, maybe when we actually see Joffrey go to the Vale with Rhaena as well. At least in the books, we know Rhaena goes to the Vale as well with her dragon egg morning. And we're still not 100% sure what's going on with Rhaena on the show. Of course, we got all of those crazy rumors a few weeks ago as to what's going on with Rhaena and Nettles and Sheepstealer and whether or not Nettles will even be in the show. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out, which, what rumors were true and what were false. But I'm looking forward to seeing some Vale action. I've always been a big fan of the Vale and House Arryn. But yeah. We got a lot of good stuff, guys. A lot of good stuff. And, of course, we did see these scenes during a lot of the trailers. This, of course, is the famous Weirwood tree at Harrenhal, most likely the famous Weirwood tree at Harrenhal that Damon is seemingly executing somebody at. But even more so, we recently got some very interesting stills from episode 3 as well. And these are very, very interesting. Check this out. We got Damon in front of the Harrenhal heart tree. And I get the feeling this could potentially be during one of those weird hallucination kind of episodes that Damon has. This one, I mean, geez, I know a lot of you guys were just saying in the chat how much you really like Damon's armor, and I 100% agree with you. I think Damon has the best armor on the show, although I do really like Rhaenys armor as well. Her kind of dragon scale armor is super freaking badass. But, I mean, this is the Rogue Prince. This is the Damon Targaryen that I picture when I'm reading the book. The only thing he's missing is his yellow cloak.
Yes.
The gold
cloak.
He looks like that character from that old video game, what was it, Dragon's Lair?
He reminds me. It reminds
The
me of a
80s
character
one?
in Skyrim. That's what it makes you think of. Skyrim armor.
Reminds me of, and I think Aldous will maybe agree or maybe disagree. It reminds me a little bit of Elric.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
I could see that.
There's a little bit of Elric going on, but that's also the Targaryens themselves. I mean, when you read George's description of what the Targaryens are, it's Elric. And that's one of the things that George does. He, respectfully, in quotes, borrows from a lot of sources and brings it into the story. But there is a lot of Michael Moorcock's Elric. And if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, Michael Moorcock is the author that created Elric. Absolutely, if you're not familiar with him, go to your local library, borrow one of the books, and you're going to fall in love with it, and then you're going to buy them all because they're awesome. So you should go check it out.
Yeah, if you like A Song of Ice and Fire, or if you like The Witcher and A Song of Ice and Fire were both very heavily influenced by Elric. Elric all this actually turned me on to Elric, and I've been so thankful ever since. Really fun stuff. If you like A Song of Ice and Fire or The Witcher, you'll probably like Elric as well. But Harrenhal is going to be very, very interesting. I can't wait to see these scenes at Harrenhal. This has been some of the things I've been looking forward to most in season 2. Now, just based on where Fire and Blood was, I think a lot of us who have read the book knew that we were going to get the taking of Harrenhal pretty early in season 2. And again, it's just one of those events that I've been really looking forward to. And of course, hopefully the introduction of Alice Rivers as well. Good stuff. Yeah. Do you think Daron will look like Criston? I have seen these rumors going around. There have been some rumors going around that Daron on the show is really the son of Criston Cole. I hope that's not the case. I mean, if that is the case, he's not going to have any Targaryen features at all. So the second we see Daron Targaryen, if he has any Targaryen features, that instantly kind of debunks that theory, I think. Because if Daron is the son of Alicent and Criston, he would have no Targaryen features at all, just like even worse than the Strongs. At least Rhaenyra's kids are half Targaryen, blood-wise anyway. But no, I have seen those rumors going around. I mean, I get the feeling that they're probably just rumors at this point. I feel like Daron needs to be a Targaryen, especially for him to be not only a dragon rider, but some of the things that he does a little bit later in the dance. I think it's an interesting theory. And I mean, obviously it's, sprung from this whole affair between Alicent and Criston, but I'll be very surprised if they make Daron the secret son of Criston. I hope that's not the case.
I hope that's
I
not the
hope that's
case.
not.
If anyone was going to be anyone's secret son, I would prefer if they went the rogue prince route from George's novella, and it would be Aemond being the secret son of Damon. That is kind
Of
of
Damon.
implied. Yeah,
Yep.
that is kind of implied. That
Yeah.
But they're not doing that either.
Recently, I don't think they're doing that either, in
They're not.
particularly. But we did hear a little interview from the actor who plays Aemond, Ewan Mitchell, and I mean, I think a lot of us already knew this, but he kind of confirmed that Damon is his hero. He idolizes Damon. Aemond on the show idolizes Damon, and you can really see that in the way that Aemond kind of just portrays himself, the way he looks. He is almost like a carbon copy of Damon, only a lesser version, in my opinion. So yeah, the actor did kind of come out and confirm that Damon is kind of like his idol, but it's also his rival at the same time as well. So it's a very interesting dynamic there where Aemon looks up to him, but also knows that it's his enemy at the same time as well. So that's going to be some fun scenes, them two together.
The hair thing, though, like technically Rhaenys has black hair with a white streak, technically, but they kept her hair. They kept her hair silver or platinum blonde here for the show, I think, so there wouldn't be any confusion amongst viewers.
I think that's probably why they did it as well, just to kind of not confuse the maybe general audience who maybe didn't read Fire and Blood. So yeah, I think that's probably why they just want to give all the Targaryens on the show the same kind of Targaryen look. And yeah, I agree. I think that's probably just to, not confuse the non-book reading audience, which makes sense. Makes sense. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Let's see what else we got. Syrax was Rhaenyra's dragon that roared on the beach with her sorrow. Yes, we did see that in episode 1, and we even saw that in season 1 as well. If we go back to season 1, when Rhaenyra was giving birth to the deformed baby Visenya, you can see Syrax is in visual pain during that scene. The scene keeps kind of flashing back between Rhaenyra and Syrax in that episode, and you can see that Syrax is almost feeling every bit of that birth that Rhaenyra was feeling. And it looks like Syrax was also feeling the grief on the beach as well, because at the end of the day, Syrax also was grieving. The dragon that died, Arax's egg came from Syrax, at least in the book anyway. So in the book, Syrax is the mother of all of Rhaenyra's children's dragon. Vermax, Arax, and Taraxes all came from eggs hatched by Syrax in the book. So in that scene, you're seeing not only Rhaenyra mourn the death of her son, but you're seeing Syrax mourn the death of her son as well. It's very kind of same thing going on there. So yeah,
very true.
Good stuff. Yeah. Very good stuff. Let's see what else we got. If Daron is a bastard, this would change everything we know about dragon lore. Not to mention, absolutely. I mean, if he turns out to be the biological son of Alicent and Crispin, it's kind of hard to see him as a dragon rider then. Although we do get Nettles in the book as a dragon rider, and we're not 100% sure of Nettles' origins and her kind of bloodline as well. Whether or not she's a dragon seed or not is never confirmed. But based on a lot of the dragon lore that we know, having Valyrian blood seems to be one of the requirements almost, it seems. So yeah, I mean, if Daron comes around and he doesn't have those Targaryen features, I guess then we can probably lean some more credence to him being Crispin's son. But if Daron shows up and he looks like a Targaryen, I think that debunks that theory, if nothing else. Yeah, Aemon's name is a literal anagram of Damon's name. It's true. Very cool. It's literally the same thing.
The mirror. He's a mirror to Damon.
Yeah.
In many ways, how he's written out to be.
Yeah, sort of like the Tyrion is a Targaryen theory. The show took away some of the looks. Yeah, and I think maybe that could potentially have been a little reason for that as well. And I mean, as interesting as the kind of secret Targaryen theories are, they get a little bit tiresome after a while when you start to see there's pretty much a theory for like every freaking Game of Thrones character for them being a secret Targaryen. Even Mance freaking Raider is secretly Rhaegar. Like, I mean, it gets a little much.
That's the craziest one.
To bring it back to House of the Dragon, though, what's your take on the Hulls? Are they Lanor? Are they Corlys?
Ooh. Now,
Corliss.
I think they're Corlysses. I don't think they'll be Laenors. Just based on everything we know about Laenor, him, not only are the Hull brothers way too old to be Laenors on the show, but obviously Laenor famously did not favor women as well.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, I think they're Corlysses. And based on the fact that Corlys doesn't even attempt to even acknowledge them until after the events of Rook's Rest, that leads me to believe even more that he is the father. I get the feeling Corlys is the dad of the Hull brothers.
Well, and going back to that scene that we talked about in the harbor when he was talking to him, I got the you sense something's there. And
there was something there, yes. 100%.
I think they are playing that they're Corlysses in the show, and I think it works really well if they're doing. And again, this shows you this is good writing, that they're showing you early on that Corlys is kind of uncomfortable around him. And
think about it, Aldous. He married a woman that has a dragon, that has a Targaryen temper at some point. And do you think if she knew that this occurred, he would be existing? Probably not.
I think he knows. I think he knows. She knows.
I think she might know, but it might be one of those things that's just unspoken, that is never even whispered of, maybe.
I mean, who isn't sleeping around in this show?
Very true. Very true.
Like, wouldn't you be kind of? I mean, she's a smart woman. You'd be kind of daft to like look around and everybody's got a Goomba on the side, and you're like, no, not my husband. Like, no, just make the assumption everybody's.
Just wanted to say. Sorry. I just wanted to say thank you to MKXD for joining us this evening. Thank you for hanging out, my friend, and have a swell evening. Sorry.
Yeah, later.
They're definitely Corlys' sons.
Yeah, they gotta be Corlys's. I mean, at least on the show, they're way too old to be Laenors. They look to be the same late age of Laenor, or maybe even older than Laenor. I wouldn't even be surprised if the show plays it like these are children that Corlys had before he even married Rhaenys, maybe. Because they look. I mean, at the very least, they look Laenor's age, or maybe even a little older than Laenor. They look. So yes, I do get the feeling they will be Corlys's children on the show, just like I get the feeling they're probably Corlys's children in the book as well. But back to your point, Aldous, what is the history here is one thing I'm very much looking forward to. Because like you said, that first meeting that we get between Corlys and Alan, there seemed to almost be this kind of underlying very small layer of tension almost between the two. Almost like I wouldn't be too surprised if Alan knows that Corlys is his father. And maybe there's a strained relationship there because Alan knows that Corlys never acknowledged him. I get the feeling there's a little bit more baggage here on the show than we've seen just in that first episode. I just get the feeling there's something more there, that they're a little more familiar with each other than at first glance. Because you get that one scene and Corlys says, I'm told you're the one that pulled me out of the water. And when I heard that, I thought, is this his first time meeting Alan? Like, what's going on here? And then as that scene started to progress, it seemed like, I don't know, maybe it was just me, maybe I'm seeing things that aren't there, but it seemed like there was kind of a small underlying layer of tension there maybe. So I wouldn't be too surprised if Alan knows it's his father, and maybe there's a little bit of bitterness there because Alan knows he never acknowledged him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they take it, but there's definitely something here, and we're going to get a payoff for it because they spent a little too much time on the scene, and the reaction from two excellent actors was that there's something more going on. So I'm looking forward to at the end of the season coming back to this moment and watching it again. It's going to be, I think there's going to be something.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, there's no reason to even put it in there.
Yeah. And Brent, and Brent brings up they aged up Alan and Adam of Hull, which I'm not sure I like. And I think the reason why they aged them up on the show is probably to convey that much more that these aren't Laenor's children. I think that's the only really reason I could think of why they aged them up so much, unless they potentially aged them up this much for purposes that they're going to play it, that these are maybe children that Corlys had even before he had Laenor, maybe. I can't really think of any other reasons for them to age them up this much, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, they are significantly older on the show than they were in the book. That is true. That
You know,
is
though,
true.
that makes sense, Jeremy, though, because that's something they could do. Like, he possibly abandoned a family that he had
Exactly.
or Rhaenys.
Exactly. Like, what if Corlys was in love, for all we know? What if
Mm-hmm.
Corlys was deeply in love with the mother of Alan and Adam of Hull, and then maybe he was forced to kind of abandon them when he married Rhaenys for duty? I think it could add just a very interesting and kind of complex, complicated nature to the relationship and add that complexity there. I just think it'd be a pretty cool way to play it, but who knows? Yeah, it's hard to say what they're going to do on the show, but I do think Corlys is the father, both in the book and in the show. And yeah, Corlys probably has bastards all over the world. Says Jamie Moore. He probably does.
True.
He probably does, yeah. And Henry
all his
Bemis as well. There's no way
voyages.
Corlys doesn't have a side piece or three. Dude's a sailor.
He's a sailor.
Like Austin Powers says, they go from port to port. So this is true. Yeah, I mean, Corlys was a young man at one point. I mean, he does the famous 9 voyages where he kind of really elevates House Velaryon to the richest family in the realm at that point. So yeah, I mean, I think it would be highly unlikely that Corlys doesn't have bastards running around out there. I think that would be more unlikely that he doesn't at this point. So yeah, good point. Very good point, guys. Very good point. But yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see what they do with the Hull brothers. I mean, I know, obviously, we know what happens in Fire and Blood between these two characters, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do on the show. I feel like the castings are pretty good. I'm a big fan of Abubakar Salim, the actor playing Alan of Hull. I thought he was great in Raised by Wolves. I was so bummed when that show got canceled, just when it was starting to really, really, really get good. And he was also famously the voice of Assassin's Creed Revelations, I think it was, or Origins, excuse me. So yeah, he's a great actor. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does as Alan of Hull. Alan has a pretty interesting storyline throughout the dance, but even more so, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Adam. Now, we have seen a lot of the concerns over the whole Adam claiming sea smoke debacle and how that it's going to even be possible with Laenor still alive. So I'm looking forward to seeing if the show addresses that and if they have a answer for that, because it is a big concern, especially on a lot of book readers' minds. George R.R. Martin, of course, is very specific when he sets up his dragon lore. 1 rider per dragon at a time. It's very specific. And we see what happens later on in the Dance of the Dragons when someone tries to ride a dragon that is bonded to someone else. It is disastrous what happens. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do there. Are we going to get a quick throwaway line that confirms that Laenor is really dead? Or are we going to see Adam claim a dragon with no explanation at all? That is one thing I'm a little nervous about, but should be interesting to see what happens. Should be interesting to see what happens.
For sure, man.
I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know what they're going to do with that.
We better get some line. We better get some kind of confirmation. I personally need it. On a personal level, I need it. I won't be satisfied. So,
yeah, it's going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting. And yeah, maybe we'll get Marilda of Hull as well, as she's important as Black Alley. Yeah, I mean, that's right, Black Alley. I totally almost forgot about Black Alley there for a minute. I can't friggin' wait for Black Alley. And Black Alley famously later on becomes the wife of Criston Stark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, that's where you recognized him. If you guys were wondering where you maybe recognized Alan of Hull before, yes, he played the father on Raised by Wolves, the android father. He was great on that show too. I mean, this guy really is a good actor. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with Alan.
Not to be too much of a Blackwood fanboy, but I will point out that Black Alley is Benjicat's aunt. So
yeah. Hell yeah, man.
She's got some badassery in her, and that's why she went over to the Stark side.
She does have some badassery in her as well, especially when it comes to what happens during the Battle of the Burning Mill. With the whole slaying of Samwell Blackwood, and of course Allie is the sister of Samwell Blackwood. The whole her taking revenge with a weirwood bow and arrow, like she's freaking badass. Like she's super badass. I hope we get some good Black Alley scenes for sure.
Yeah, she's a Blackwood, not a Bracken.
Yep. Yep. And yes, I have been seeing rumors like this going around as well, that that people are taking this the scene as confirmation that Syrax is the mother of Daenerys' dragons. I don't know how accurate that is personally. I think a lot of people are making some very certain assumptions. Now, if Ryan Condal has specifically come out and confirmed that, then absolutely, that's show canon at that point. But at least when it comes to the books, Syrax is one of the least likely candidates to be the mother of Dany's dragons, in my opinion, anyway. But again, I haven't read the Wired magazine article yet, so I'm not sure what's stated in it. If there is a direct quote from Ryan Condal, then I'll believe it. But anything short of that, I think people might be reading a little more into things that they're hoping are there, based on that one scene we get of the dragon eggs in the season 3, in the episode 3 trailer. We get this really nice shot of the dragon eggs, and a lot of people think that is confirmation that the Syrax eggs, that Dany's eggs came from Syrax when we see these dragon eggs right here. I just, again, I mean, if there's a direct quote from Ryan Condal or from any of the other writers on House of the Dragon, then I'll believe it. But until I see anything short of that, I'm not going to believe yet. I think it's fanfic until it's actually confirmed by the showrunners or the writers. That's just me. I tend to think her eggs probably most likely came from Dreamfire. I think that's a little more likely, especially considering the, what happened with Dreamfire's eggs in Fire and Blood and how they get stolen and whisked away. I've always been of the mind that it's probably Dreamfire who is the mother, but I mean, it could be Syrax, I suppose, at least on the show, maybe.
I'm wondering though. So, Rhaena, right? She receives a clutch of dragon eggs laid by Syrax, and that's how she ends up with mourning. She had a failed hatchling, and I mean, her dragon eggs that she carried with her and hoping to hatch, they were from Syrax. They were a clutch of Syrax's eggs. So I'm not sure.
Interesting.
But Dreamfire definitely, I think, is.
And they look a lot like Dreamfire as well. I know we haven't gotten a very great look at Dreamfire, but we do get that one look at Dreamfire in season 1 when young Aemond is going down into the dragon pit. And apparently they touched on this a little bit more. Apparently younger Aemond anyway, he had made a habit of going down into that dragon pit because he often tries to claim his sister's dragon, apparently. Because, of course, Aemond famously didn't grow up with a dragon like the rest of the Targaryen princelings. And we do get that one little shot of Dreamfire down there in those caves. And the Dreamfire dragon, the design looks just like Drogon, Viserion, and Rhaegal, like almost identical. So I think that leads a little bit more evidence to it maybe being Dreamfire as well. But I mean, who knows? If confirmation comes around that they are Syrax's eggs, then I mean, it would be a little fitting symbolically, I guess, with Syrax being, Rhaenyra's dragon, and Syrax is famously known for laying a ton of freaking eggs, one of the most fertile dragons in all of the books. So yeah, I mean, I suppose it would make a little bit of sense if the Dany's eggs came from Syrax, but I've always been of the mind that they're probably Dreamfires. But I could be wrong. Who knows? I'll have to read that article and see if there's any direct quotes or anything. Awesome stuff, guys. This is why I love diving into all of these phenomenal Song of Ice and Fire theories and predictions. Like, I love getting on here and talking House of the Dragon with everybody. You guys really are the best. I'm waiting to hear from George himself about Dany's dragons. I agree with the gentleman. Yeah, I mean, if it comes from George directly, then it becomes book canon at that point. Then there's really no disputing it. But if we're talking show canon, because of course show canon and book canon are two different things, as George has mentioned, just because Syrax is the mother of Dany's eggs on the show doesn't necessarily mean it'll be the same in the books, I guess. But yeah, I guess, I mean, at this point, I'm waiting for confirmation. Once I see confirmation, then I'll believe it. But up until now, I haven't seen that yet. But then again, I haven't read that Wired article yet. So I'll have to read that after the stream and give it a good gander. But thank you for the heads up, though. Appreciate it. I didn't know there was an article out for it. I just saw all the fan theories speculating after they saw this trailer. A lot of fans were saying, "Oh, is this confirmation that Dany's eggs came from Cyrax?" But I hadn't seen any articles attached to it yet. So thank you. I'll definitely check that out after the stream, though. For sure.
I just always believed it was Dreamfire, just because in Fire and Blood, she's the female dragon that's known to have laid the most eggs. And then the theory that the 3 that were stolen from Rhaena by Alyssa Farman. So, I mean, the other one, there was another dragon, the one they describe as the last dragon, that left behind like 5 eggs, and they turned to stone 20 years after her death. So it could be that. I mean, until George says anything.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Did y'all see Maelor's crib in episode 1 in the corner of the room? Do you think Maelor will die with Helena when she jumps, or is pushed or died to safety? I'm not 100% sure if that was Maelor's crib or if that was just an extra crib for one of the other kids, because Ryan Condal has come out and said that Maelor doesn't exist yet in this timeline. The way Ryan Condal explained it is they took now the prelude to the Dance of the Dragons, everything that leads up to the Dance of the Dragons in Fire and Blood, it's a history of around 30 years of history before we get to the actual dance, which is what season 1 was adapting. Season 1 was directly adapting the 29 years leading up to the dance. But the way Ryan Condal described it was they condensed 30 years down into 20 years, whatever that means. And for that was the reasoning he gave for Maelor not existing on the show. So I don't think we'll get Maelor at all on the show, unfortunately. And I think that's a little bit of a detriment, especially as tragic as Blood and Cheese is, and it is incredibly tragic. What happens to Maelor later on is just as tragic and probably even more brutal when you think about the manner in which he dies. But at this point, just based on what Ryan Condal has said, I'm not really expecting to see Maelor at all yet. I mean, Ryan Condal has said Maelor doesn't exist yet. I don't know if that means Maelor will be coming at some point or if he's not going to come at all. I have a feeling I just don't see Helena giving birth to another child after Blood and Cheese. Considering how much it probably breaks her, I find it hard to believe that her and Aegon are going to conceive again. But they could, I guess. I suppose you never know what's going to happen. But at this point, I'm not really expecting to see Maelor on the show. But I did see a lot of people pointing out that that other crib in the corner there. And the only thing I can think of is maybe it's just an extra crib is all I can think of. But just based on Ryan Condal's words anyway. But I'm not sure. Will we get Maelor on the show, you think, based on what Ryan said?
No.
Kayla?
No.
No, I don't think so.
Nah.
No? What about you, Aldous?
Nope, I don't think so. They're gonna take it linear.
I think so. I think that's the more likely outcome. But who knows?
I also think you kind of want to kick the can on that. You can use that if this, because there's only so much material here. If they keep on getting extended, you can kick that can and drag out another season on that. To me, if I'm a producer on this, that's what I'm telling them. Like, stay focused on this story. Yes, I get that's there, but you can use that down the road. We're still using the reference material, but we're stretching it like taffy to get the most out of it.
Okay. Interesting. Brent asks, do you think we will see Winterfell next season? I'm hoping we get a confirmation of Vermax leaving a clutch of eggs up north. And this was one of my biggest problems with episode 1. And as much as I loved everything that we got up north with Jace and Criston Stark, I still feel like those scenes were just rushed a little too much. I feel like we just didn't get enough. In terms of everything that happens between Jace and Criston in the book, and all the time that Jace spends up north with Criston, the friendship they develop, they spend a good amount of time hunting and training together. And they end up forming the Pact of Ice and Fire. None of that ended up being on the show. So I really feel like the Winterfell scenes, as much as I loved what we did get, I feel like we just didn't get enough of it. And the writers have kind of touched on it, where they didn't want to do too much Northern Stark stuff because they want the audience to remember that this is a Targaryen story, not a Stark story. So it seems like they didn't want to do too much stuff up north. But Yeah, again, that was kind of one of my only big problems with episode 1. I feel like they glossed over the Jace Cregan stuff way too fast. At the very least, I was hoping to see Jace stay up north for at least the entirety of one episode. And really, all we got was one 7-minute scene. I just feel like it was way too rushed. I feel like they didn't give this scene enough time to breathe, or this relationship enough time to kind of cultivate, because Cregan and Jace become really good friends. They become like brothers, so much to the point where later on, after the Battle of the Gullet, Cregan straight up wants revenge because he's such good friends with Jace. I won't spoil why, but they become really good friends. So I just feel like that wasn't portrayed on the show, where Jace and Cregan kind of left as kind of very, acquaintances at best. It didn't seem like that friendship was given time to develop. And of course, we got nothing on the Pact of Ice and Fire as well, which of course was the marriage proposal where Jace's children will marry Cregan's children after the war. So I just feel like, again, as much as I loved everything that we did get up north, I just feel like we didn't get enough of it. I feel like the Jace Cregan stuff could have been spread out throughout the entirety of an entire episode, and maybe that could potentially be to us only getting 8 episodes instead of 10. I really feel like that is hurting the pacing in some instances. I actually feel like the pacing is going too fast. I don't think it's slow at all. At least in the first episode, I feel like the pacing was way too fast, and they were just firing through events one after the other way too quick, to the point where they didn't show Jace at the Vale. They didn't show him at White Harbor, anything like that. I just feel like maybe if they had the full 10 episodes, they could have fleshed these scenes out a little bit more. But again, I liked what we got. I just feel like we didn't get enough of Jace Cregan. And based on what the writers said, with them wanting to keep the story Targaryen focused, now I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not sure if we'll get any Winterfell or any Cregan until the very end when it comes to the Hour of the Wolf. Now, we will get the Winter Wolves, which is going to be freaking great. I cannot wait to see the Winter Wolves on screen, and Roddy the Ruin and all of the phenomenal Winter Wolves. I get the feeling they are probably going to be the stark representation on the show until Cregan returns, probably if not in season 3, maybe in season 4. Definitely in season 4, if not in 3. So as much as I really want to see more Winterfell stuff, I'm not really expecting it, unfortunately. Which is a shame, man. I love the North. Hearing that freaking Stark music again, and I know I've said this so many times, I probably sound like a broken record, but just hearing this music again just brings joy to my heart.
Duty is sacrifice. It eclipses all things, even blood. All men of honour must pay its price. North owes a great duty to the 7 kingdoms, one older than any oath. Since the days of the first men, we have stood as guardians against the cold and the dark. But my ancestor, Torrin Stark, began a tradition by making an offering at the onset of winter. 1 in 10 men from our household was to be chosen to fortify the watch. This is not a sentence, but an honour. A duty embraced by all who serve the North. Even by mine own kin. The North must stand ready. Winter is coming.
Oh, man.
Winter is coming. Man, every time I hear that freaking music, it just brings so many good memories back. As bad as Game of Thrones ended, and it ended freaking just atrociously. As bad as the ending of Game of Thrones was, I still look back on the first 6 or 7 seasons or so of Game of Thrones with immense fondness. Just for me personally, it's one of those things where, I know I've said this multiple times, but it's one of those things where the journey was just better than the destination, ultimately. So I still go back and I really much enjoy those first few seasons of Game of Thrones, just like I used to back in the day. But yeah, I really want to see more Stark stuff, but I'm not really expecting it, unfortunately. Not until the end, anyway.
We better get the Winter Wolves in the Hour of the Wolf. Everything. I will be very upset. I mean, I want to see Cregan fight and everything. I want to see shit go down. I would have been content if they did a whole episode of them just up in the north. I was content.
That's what I was expecting. That's exactly what I was expecting.
Well,
I literally I was content with the information from Aegon's conquest because that's something personally that I wanted to hear about. I wanted it to be spoken about, for it to be brought up, and hoped that in my head canon, that was something that they had discussed and shared with each other before they made their pact. So, so I was satisfied with that. But the 6 minutes we got was just not enough for me. They should have just did a whole episode. They should have dedicated a whole episode to it. I know like the dragon, like a clutch of dragon eggs in Winterfell is highly unlikely because really the dragon egg is Jon. Symbolic. Jon is the dragon egg that is in the crypts of Winterfell. I mean, there's a lot of things, but I mean, I'm all about if there was dragon eggs laid over there as well too, because hey, we're dragons, But yeah, not enough Stark.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I'm being my overexcited self.
No, I love it. That's what this is for. I love the excitement. Just want to say goodnight to Kiwi Skirt, and thank you so much, Kiwi, for always being such an awesome mod on the channel. Kiwi's always dropping our Discord link and everything. I just thank you so much to all of the mods on the channel. You guys really are the best, and everybody in the chat. You guys freaking rock.
Oh yeah,
you guys rock.
For sure.
But yeah, I agree with both of you. Well, I agree with you as well, Kayla. That I just wish we would have got a little bit more. I liked what we got. Just wish we could have gotten a little bit more. I was expecting to see Jace up north with Cregan for at least the entirety of one full episode. And again, maybe that's because we're only getting 8 episodes this season. They had to condense a few things, which is a freaking shame.
Well,
but
did they have to?
No,
let me go.
No, like a lot of people were saying. Well, a lot of people were saying in the chat, and I 100% agree with this. They could have cut out so many Allison and Cole scenes and stuck in some Jason Cregan scenes. In episode 1, there's in episode 1. Listen, hold on. Listen. In episode 1, there's over 20 minutes of Allison screen time. She does not need that much screen time.
No,
she does not need that.
Character building. You're misunderstanding my point. Why are we only at what point did we get we're now 8 to 10 episodes is a season? I just finished rewatching Babylon 5 season 1. There's 22 episodes. I hit episode 13 and I'm like, oh man, it's got to be about over, right? No, there's 9 more.
There's a lot more story there, though. Yeah.
You're right.
20 years ago, 30 years ago, that was a short season.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't understand what has happened in our TikTok, YouTube short generation, where suddenly we're thrilled that we get 10 episodes in a season. Like, it's asinine.
I'm not thrilled.
I love this show. I love season 1. But this is ridiculous. I don't care how much money they're spending on an episode. There's no reason that we have to put things at 10s. And they're like, oh, well, we need to film it fast and get it ready. Somehow they managed back then. Like, I don't get it.
And it's a shame too, because like you said, even just a few years ago, you think back to just the days when like Lost and 24 and the show. They do.
Can you imagine if they did 24 and they only had 12 episodes? It's like just noon to midnight. That's all you get.
They actually did that. The final season of 24 only had 12 episodes. But everyone before that had 24 full freaking episodes. Prison Break, Lost, all of these shows had 20 plus seasons an episode. And they got them out every year like clockwork. Every single year you got 24 episodes of Lost. Every single year you got 24 episodes of 24. And yeah, you're right. Over the years we have seen series be dramatically condensed down in episode count, where nowadays, like you said, people are happy to get 10 episodes, where 10 years ago that was a blink of an eye when it came to series. So that's a good point you make.
The Walking Dead had 11
I do agree with
seasons, and the
Buddha
last
here.
season
Blame
had
Netflix.
24 episodes. I mean, their first season had 6 episodes of The Walking Dead, right? But then they moved up to 16, and then by the final season, it had 24 freaking episodes.
Yeah, but by that point, nobody wanted 20 episodes of The Walking Dead.
That's what I'm saying. I will take 20
not at
episodes
all.
of House of the Dragon. I could have done like 5 whole episodes exploring everything that happened in Winterfell. To be
I
honest.
don't understand how we have like, God knows how many episodes, and we keep on getting more episodes of Euphoria, but we don't get more House of the Dragon. We don't get more decent shows.
Yeah.
It's infuriating. They'll put just a camera on Zendaya and have 15-minute, stills with nothing other than music playing in the background, episode after episode, but we can't get any engaging television consistently that's longer than like 8. And all due respect, Jeremy, we act like, oh my God, this is great. Because it is great. But my
It's
God,
great,
we're
but
starving for good
comparatively-
content. And they're giving us
comparatively, it
8-ounce
sucks.
steaks when we want 12.
I want 16 episodes at an hour and a half apiece.
Well, yeah, you think back to Twilight Zone, and Twilight Zone had 30 and 40 episode seasons at times where, we have seen TV drastically get reduced in episode count over the last 10 years or so. It has really gotten bad where, we got Dunk and Egg coming next year. That's only going to be 6 episodes in season 1.
Makes me want to cry. Only 6 episodes.
So I do agree with you there wholeheartedly, man. It's a totally different TV viewing experience now than it was just a few years ago when those shows were on.
Yeah, and it offends me on a certain level because, man, when you find something good, and there is a dearth of quality entertainment, so when you do find something good, and there's so much that you have to sift through, it's so incredibly frustrating because there's only 10 episodes. And, not too long ago, we were talking about great TV shows that only got 1 season. Man, Nowhere Man with Bruce Greenwood, which I think was Citizen Ronan in the chat that brought that up and on the comments on Twitter. That's entirely available on YouTube. That's fantastic. I think that's got 12. So even then, we were getting more than 10. It's just frustrating.
Yeah.
But going back to the heart of the matter here, which is that beautiful opening sentiment. And I think that this is something that Hollywood in general, that most scriptwriters don't understand, is that people want that. There's a reason that Yellowstone was so successful because it hits that self-reliance, that individualism quality that it stirs someone's soul when they see a character that represents that. And the Starks represent that because they're from the North. And yes, I'm biased. I live essentially in the land of the midnight sun. So I'm going to gravitate towards that. And I love that philosophy. But everything that he's talking about are the philosophies of the people that I live around, that are daily occurrences. It's duty, it's honor. It's you have a responsibility to both the land and your family. And those come first. It's God, family, and whatever your faith may be. But there's a hierarchy to your responsibilities, and you understand that. Because if you don't understand that, when the winter does come, and God forbid the winter comes every year, it just depends on how harsh it is. It's how well prepared you are. Now, we have modern contrivances that make that easier. But when you're living generation after generation in that world, those things are built into you. And I think every human has that built into them to a degree, that you have to be, you don't want to be the grasshopper, you want to be the ant. You want to be prepared for the hard time. So you've got that built in. So when you see these characters that are espousing their beliefs, you drift towards them. You want them. For a show, you want to delay that, because the longer we can delay showing that, we're going to give you hints of it. They're going to keep on watching because you want more of it. And so you're going to get samples and tastes, especially in this, because we already know what the North is like. We have already experienced the Starks from Game of Thrones. So this, I get why they didn't do it. I do think it's a miss. I think this is one of those things where it's the constraints of the 10 episode model, and it's the failure
or 8 in this count.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some of it is just the difference. There's a difference in the funding model for the shows. In a normal network show, they're looking to sell advertising. Whereas here, I mean, I looked up some of the shows we talked about, and it's pretty, or that were mentioned, and they're, Euphoria is only 8 episodes a season, and Yellowstone is only 9 or 10 a season, and the funding model is different for streaming or from the premium content, where they're not having to try to draw in an audience to sell their ads every week.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a big difference between the streaming service model and the network cable television model, which highly does rely on commercial ads. Yeah, it's a good point.
Maybe we've reached a point now where the most viewed streaming service isn't Netflix. It's not Amazon. Last quarter, it was Tubi, which has commercials. It's free.
Wow.
And it has commercials. We've now eclipsed. We've reached the point.
Tubi got great stuff on it. Yeah.
There's fantastic.
I love
My boy and I watched Aquaman. And that's granted, that's what, like 5 years old, but who cares? If the kid wants to watch it, it's there. Yeah, we got to suffer through a couple commercials.
There's a labyrinth on there.
It's weird, man. We have got, at least for me, we've gotten to the point where like the commercials are actually nice, because instead of having to pause the show at a random interval, when a commercial comes on, you just go pop the popcorn. It's
Get
weird.
up and get a drink or something.
Yeah,
We've
got. It was so refreshing.
Experience.
It is. It was so refreshing to have no commercials, and now somehow it's like, oh, this gives me an opportunity to walk out of the room. But it doesn't matter because the content's free because of it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. No, I had no idea, man. Wow, that came as a shock to me. I had no idea Tubi was the most viewed streaming service last quarter. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
It's because it's free. Everyone's tired of paying for shit.
And it's got
it does has great content on it.
It's got
and
stuff
Amazon's got their
stuff on
freebie that they're doing that's the competitor for it. But yeah, the numbers were shocking for last quarter when it came out.
Yeah, that's
and I was looking at them just as I own stock in Disney, so I was looking at it just like, hey, how's Disney Plus doing? Oh, look, the service that doesn't charge people is beating my investment. Yay! That's a great sign.
That's crazy, man. Crazy, but yeah, like you said, I mean, it's a free streaming service. Just about every country that Tubi, not just about every country that Tubi is available in, it's free. And like you guys said, it also does have some pretty good content on that. So that does kind of make a little bit of sense that they are racking up so many viewer hours. So yeah, go Tubi, man. At one point, I don't know if it's still there, but I remember at one point Tubi had the entirety of all of the Twilight Zone, classic Twilight Zone, which is my favorite series of all time. I've said in the past, I have 3 favorite shows of all time, and it's always Twilight Zone, Lost, and I kind of go back and forth on the third between Game of Thrones and 24. But yeah, at one point, Tubi had all of Twilight Zone on there where you could just watch all of it. I was binging it like hell every single night at one point. But yeah, wow. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. But yeah, let's see what else
I
we
wanted
did.
to talk about. Can I bring
Please.
something up? So
Sure, please.
in the last episode, there was something that I saw that made me extremely happy. So Rhaenyra, she's going through the books, and she finds the book.
I know what you mean. Visenya.
Hell yeah, because I just think and if we get an Aegon's Conquest show, I just hope that they really flesh out her character, because she is just so mysterious and compelling, and she's just badass. She is like the original Targaryen warrior woman, and probably like the only one. So it's interesting to me, because at first I was kind of iffy. Like, what the hell? Just give me Aegon's Conquest and have Visenya. But to see that Rhaenyra is taking her role and her inspiration from Visenya Targaryen, that I was like, okay, I'm about this now. I can see her go in and have more of a active role during the war, whereas she didn't in the books, but to know, like, she read through history and was highly inspired by Visenya with that shot they showed, and they had the drawing of Vhagar and everything, and it was just, to me, as a Visenya stan, I was so excited seeing that. Yeah, it was so cool for me personally. Yeah.
No, I as soon as I saw that scene, I thought you were one of the first things I thought of when I saw that scene. I thought, oh man, Kayla's gonna love this freaking Visenya Easter egg, and it's cool. It's nice when you see the kind of some of the lore get mentioned or even just sprinkled throughout some of the episodes every once in a while. It's always fun.
I love it.
Always fun.
I love it.
I
Seeing
love
the
it
books
too.
and everything. It's my
Yeah.
favorite. And that was something I loved that they did with Samwell in Game of Thrones
Yep.
as well, when he was going through the books.
Reading about the Long Night and all
Yes.
that. Like it's
I
some of
love
the funnest
that.
stuff. Finding out about Rhaegar and Jon and Lyanna
Yes.
and all that. It's great callbacks to the source material. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But no, Zach Turner asks if Aegon Conquest was confirmed. I thought not yet, unfortunately. It seems like it's getting very close and close. The writer that has been attached to the project, Mattson Tomlin, he is the writer for the Robert Pattinson Batman movies, or one of the co-writers anyway. He is currently writing a script for season 1 of Aegon's Conquest. From what I can tell from sources I know at HBO, it seems like people are very excited about the project. It's going along pretty nicely, but it has not been greenlit yet. Unfortunately, the second that thing is greenlit, you best believe we are going to be going live right here on the channel and diving into all things The Conquest, because that's a show I really want to see. I mean, as much as I would rather get a Blackfire Rebellion live action show, I really want to see Aegon's Conquest as well. Exploring the interpersonal relationships between Aegon, Visenya, and Rhaenys. How did they get along? Did they bicker? Were Rhaenys and Visenya the best of friends? Were they rivals for Aegon's affection? Were they rivals to see who was going to provide him with an heir first? I feel like there's so many ways they could make that story complex and not make it just a one-sided slaughter where Aegon is just going around conquering kingdom after kingdom after kingdom. There is a way that they can make that show compelling, especially when it comes to the Dornish plotline and all of that. So yeah, they are actively working on Aegon's Conquest, but it hasn't been officially ordered to series yet by HBO. But from what I'm told, people are very excited about it, and it could get greenlit anytime.
Yeah, personally, I would want it through Visenya's perspective. She outlived both her brother and sister.
She was the longest.
And
yeah.
you know, just the decisions that she made, the things that she created, I think that she's more of a round dynamic character when it comes down to the trio, at least like from the things that are described about her. I find her extremely compelling. And she's brought up in the A Song of Ice and Fire books more.
She's name dropped a ton of times. She's one of the
especially
most
by like
famous
Arya
figures in Westeros.
and I just I would like to see it from her perspective. And I know I'm biased because I like the character, but I think, you know, her perspective would make the most sense, I would think. And also because she's went off and done some things on her own and what happened at the Vale and it's so badass. And I love her character. So
yeah, she is a great character. There's no denying that. I want to see all three of them. Honestly, I think that it would be, again, I mean, when you think of Aegon's Conquest, it very much is a one-sided slaughter for most of the time. So, you know, it could get boring just seeing that happen over and over and over again. But there's ways to make an Aegon's Conquest series very compelling and, you know, very fun. And of course, all of the iconic moments that we would see in live action for the first time, like seeing Velaryon the Black Dread, seeing the forging of the Iron Throne, seeing the forging of, or the beginning, the foundation of the Kingsguard. There's so many iconic moments that happen during the conquest that really shape the Westeros that we know and love for centuries to come. So yeah, I would love to see the Aegon's Conquest get greenlit. I really hope it does, and hopefully we can have multiple Song of Ice and Fire spinoffs over the next few years, because we know they are currently still working on the Corlys Velaryon Sea Snake series, which has recently been turned from live action to animated, which I think is a very good choice. If you're going to do a Corlys Velaryon 9 Voyages series, doing that in live action would probably cost more than any show they've ever filmed, just considering all of the crazy and exotic locations that Corlys visits.
And everything.
That show would be astronomical in budget. So I totally
guarantee
understand
you
them
it would be
going
less
from Corlys.
than an episode of The Acolyte.
Maybe.
I mean, I want, you know, I can't lie.
Is the right way.
I'm content with all the A Song of Ice and Fire content that I can get my hands on and I can devour.
Yeah, give it all to
I will
me.
take
Give it all
everything.
to
I
me.
will take animated. I will take live action. I will take fucking puppets at this point. I don't care
Oh my God.
what it is.
What
Muppets
puppets
Game
doing
of
what?
Thrones.
I would take
Start
it.
casting now.
Yes, Jim Henson can
Who are
take it over
Waldorf
his
and
company.
Statler? Go.
You know, whatever the case, I will take it. I will take it all. For sure. I mean, I just want to have constant A Song of Ice and Fire content flowing. You know, hopefully we get wins at the end of this year. I'm hoping.
No, you're fully right, man. I can't. I want to see Kermit as Jon Snow.
No. I just would like to have it on every year.
You know, an arrow as your rat.
But no, like seriously though, think about it though. We get two shows a year between an animated series and a live action series.
That would be great. If we can get one animated and one live action, that would be phenomenal. Because even though season 3 of House of the Dragon has already been greenlit, we probably won't be getting season 3 of House of the Dragon on our screens until early 2026, unfortunately.
Yes.
But we are getting Dunk and Egg in 2025. That much is confirmed. They're filming Dunk and Egg right now. And we'll be getting 6 episodes of Dunk and Egg probably pretty early on. Not crazy early on in 2025. Maybe by spring or summertime, the latest, we'll have Dunk and Egg season 1, which again is only 6 episodes, but it's going to be fun nonetheless. But yes, if they can get some of those animated A Song of Ice and Fire shows greenlit as well, that would be the ideal format for, at least for me as an A Song of Ice and Fire fan. If we could get one live action and one animated series per year, that would be freaking great. That'd be so awesome.
It would be great. And I really want a Black Fire Rebellion series. And I definitely need a Blood Raven series. I want to find out how he became what he became. I need to.
And I think all of that's going to be. Well, George says he is going to reveal all of that in Fire and Blood Part 2. Fire and Blood Part 1 famously ends with the reign of Aegon III. We don't really go much further than that. So in Fire and Blood Part 2, George said he's going to flesh out the rest of the Targaryen reigns, and of course that does include the Black Fire Rebellion. So once Fire and Blood Part 2 comes out, we are going to get so much information on Bloodraven, the Black Fire Rebellion, Damon Blackfire, Aegor Rivers, all of it. And I can't freaking wait. Obviously, I want wins first, but I'm still looking forward to Fire and Blood Part 2 as well.
I mean, I would love a Stark history book as well, too, in the style of Fire and
I would
Blood.
want that more than anything. When it comes to the Stark, their history is most scant. Like when it comes to all of the crazy houses that are in A Song of Ice and Fire, House Stark is one of the oldest houses in the realm, and it's still one of the houses that has the least amount of history to draw on. There's so much about the Stark past that we still don't know. It's not chronicled as well as the Targaryens past is. So hell yeah, Kayla, give us a freaking some version of a Stark version of a Fire and Blood. I would love that. Winter is coming. Call it winter is coming.
They just gave like a tiny bit of it in why can't I think
it's all kind of conjecture and legends. None of it's fact. Like even
in
when
the
it
world
comes
of
to
Ice and Fire,
Builder, even when it comes to Bran the Builder and the original Long Night, all of it is kind of conjecture. None of it is like really fact. So yeah, I would love a Stark kind of winter is coming version of Fire and Blood. That would be freaking awesome.
That's what I want. Wins, Dream, and then give me Fire and Blood
then
2,
Fire
and
Blood
then
Part
Stark
2.
in the Stark history, or give me the Stark history first, and then Fire and Blood Part 2, because I feel like
that's the thing.
There's going to be some
George
overlap.
also said they would overlap a little bit. Yeah, that's true. But George also said he's got a ton of other Dunk and Egg novels that he wants to write. As much as I would love to get some new Dunk and Egg, that's kind of the thing I could probably wait the longest for. In terms of what I would really like to see, give me Wins, give me Dream, give me Fire and Blood Part 2. Then when you're done with all that, go back and do all the Dunk and Egg you want. But George has said that when he finishes Wins, he's going to do some Dunk and Egg stuff in between Wins and Dream. And it's just the dude's got he's got a lot on his plate. Let's not sugarcoat it. He's got a lot on his plate. He's getting a little older in years. I hope that he manages to finish everything he possibly can, and everything that he wants to do, I hope he gets a chance to do. But yeah, bring on Wins, guys. It's been 13 freaking years that we've been waiting on Wins, and hopefully some of these rumors we've been getting lately end up being accurate. But yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. We shall have
Oh
to wait
God,
and see.
I'm hoping, please, around Christmas time, drop wins. I mean, I would have thought if
Yes.
they would have
Even before that, hell.
you know, I mean, I'll take it whenever. I'll take it like if it's dropped in 5 minutes from now. I will peace out and you will not hear from me in a good week. So that that's like that's what exactly as soon
Yeah.
as I get that alert, I'm going where I need to go to buy this book or figure out if I can read it online immediately. I mean, I need a physical book though, and I'm peacing out from the world for a good week. I'm gonna like disconnect all my social media. I'm gonna block everyone
Taking
on
a
my
break for a
phone,
bit.
and that's it. Leave me alone. I'm reading my book.
Yeah. Indeed. And this is very interesting as well. You know, check out the story of Tom Bombadil, and you can and the Barrow-wights. You can see a lot of influence for A Song of Ice and Fire in that. Absolutely.
Yes,
I mean,
there
when
is.
it comes to George's influences, Tolkien was a huge influence on George. George always talks about what a fan of Tolkien he was. So yeah, and Tom Bombadil is just such a phenomenal and amazing character, and I'm
Tom
really not looking
Bombadil.
forward to Rings of Power ruining him.
But I don't want to talk about
Don't.
this. I don't want to.
Let's
No,
stay
we're not going to
positive.
talk about that. That's all. That's it. One line. We're not even getting into it.
Yeah,
That's it. No
we
more.
you know, we can't.
But no,
That's
it's
that
a
would that's
fun
gonna break
story.
my heart.
And
We'll
the thing
do.
about
We'll just
the thing
watch
about
it, yeah.
Tom Bombadil is the Adventures of Tom Bombadil. Tolkien wrote that even before he wrote Lord of the Rings. Tom
Yes,
Bombadil was one of the
It's a
earliest
poem.
characters from Tolkien.
Yeah.
And he kind of it was when he got to Lord of the Rings, he weaved that character into the narrative, but that character was never meant to be an important kind of character in Lord of the Rings. We get that little scene with him and the hobbits and the Barrow-wights early on. Tom Bombadil is more meant to be this, a symbol of something. He's never really meant to take part in any narrative building
Right.
on Lord of the Rings. I think that's why it's so weird seeing him in Rings of Power.
He's a force of nature, pretty much. You
Yeah,
know,
he's something
That's
beyond.
He operates on different rules completely. Like he's just
Yeah.
he's completely
he
operates
lives
on
like
almost
the
a different
ideal
level
life.
of
Well, I
consciousness.
think
He-
I think there's something to be massively learned from Tom, and there's a lot of Lord of
Well-
the Rings fans that don't like the character, and I understand why, because it seems like it's so out of the
I
blue.
don't.
It just comes in. I think he's a
I love
beautiful
him.
character.
He
I think
fell
he's
in
the
love with
epitome.
Earth.
He's the epitome of everything that we should all strive to be, because when handed the One Ring, which is the ultimate encapsulation of power, of the ultimate
Yep.
encapsulation of evil, what's Bombadil's response? It's he puts it
He has
on,
no
he doesn't
power.
disappear, and he just
The
laughs.
joke, yeah.
And he laughs, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is neat," and then he tosses it away. He's the only character that gives it away willingly,
and that's
without
the
any
thing. Like
struggle.
he's even
It-
something
it's
like the One Ring, one of the most powerful, objects in Middle Earth. Like you said, it's a toy to him. It's a plaything. So much to the point where even when it's suggested that Tom Bombadil carry the ring to Mordor because he's not affected by it, Gandalf says no. He'll probably just forget it's in his pocket and lose it. Like that's who Tom Bombadil is. Like that's who he is at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yep.
Yeah, great character, fun character. It's if nothing else, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him in Rings of Power season 2. But
Ruin
yeah,
him.
if you guys haven't read The Adventures of Good Old Tom Bombadil, definitely check it out. It's a really fun read, and again, it's some of Tolkien's earliest work in the Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
universe. So to speak.
1934, I believe, and it's a nice poem. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. As is episode 3 of House of the Dragon is also going to be fun, which is just a few days away now. Of course, a few days away. Hell, what am I saying? It's tomorrow. It's
Hours.
tomorrow.
Hours.
Today's Saturday.
It's
No,
it's
hell, if you're
hours
on the East
away.
Coast- if you're on the East Coast, it's today, motherfucker. Shit. But no, I can't wait for episode 3. I think there's going to be a lot of really fun stuff here. Of course, we have all of the very interesting stuff that's going to be happening with Damon at Harrenhal, which is going to be really fun. We're probably going to spend the most amount of screen time in episode 3, probably with Damon at Harrenhal, I would imagine. But of course, we got some dragon egg action to look forward to as well. We also have whatever Rhaenyra is going to be doing, plotting her next move from Dragonstone. We are getting our first official in-episode look at Bela and Moondancer. I know we saw a lot of those very interesting scenes in a lot of the trailers of Bela chasing Sir Criston Cole through a field. I think we are probably going to get those scenes in episode 3 as well. And of course, we have whatever they plan on doing with the Blackwoods and the Brackens in the Battle of the Burning Mill. We got a lot of fun stuff to look forward to in episode 3. And episode 3 is reportedly 65 minutes in runtime. 65 minutes, the second longest episode so far. So bring it on, guys. We are getting closer and closer now. We are just hours away from House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 3, and of course, hopefully, our first look at Alice Rivers as well. But I am super pumped. Up until now, I think it's been pretty good. I've been enjoying the first 2 episodes. I feel like they did a lot of things really well. I feel like they did a few things that maybe could have been fleshed out a little bit more. But overall, as a whole, I am super happy to be back in the world of Westeros. It feels right. The world feels like it's back in its proper place, that we have Westeros to look forward to every freaking weekend now. And of course, we will be live. I will be live tomorrow night right here on the channel to do a little short little pregame show that I've been doing every Sunday now. So if you guys are looking for a place to come and hang out tomorrow, a few episodes before House of the Dragon loads up on HBO Max, come on over tomorrow night right here on the channel and hang out with me for a quick little pregame show as we take a look at episode 3 and kill some time while we wait for the new episode to load up. But final ratings from everybody in the chat, and I'd love to get everybody's ratings on the panel as well. Episode 1 and episode 2, where would you rate episode 1 and 2 from 1 out of 10, with 10 being great and 1 being complete shit? Where do you guys rank episode 1 out of 10, and where do you rank episode 2 out of 10? Kayla, hit me.
Like a 7.58 for both.
Okay.
7.5, 8.5 maybe. It's in between like 7.5 and 8.5 for me.
Interesting. What about you, Aldous? Where do you rate episode 1 and 2?
Episode 1 is a strong 8.85. Episode 2, a little bit weaker. I'm looking at like a 6.5 to a 7. I'm really anticipating a build-up on episode 3. I'm hoping they don't lose me, as I've kind of alluded to. I need to see something here coming up fast that's going to catch me in this.
Okay. All right. Nice. What about you, Snug? Where do you put episode 1 and episode 2?
Yeah, about the same. I think that 1 was a little bit stronger, so I'd say it's probably like a 8, and then 2 was like maybe a 7 or so.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Well, for me, I thought episode 2 was a little bit better than 1. I thought it was paced a little bit better. I think pacing is a big thing for me. And maybe it's just my bias being a huge Stark fan that I really wanted more Cregan. So for that reason, I kind of rated episode 1 a little bit lower than 2. So episode 1, I put at a 7.5. Episode 2, I'll put at an 8. But yeah, either way, I'm really enjoying the return to Westeros. It's been fun so far. I love the world. The chat is saying Jam is episode 1 is a 7 for him, and episode 2 is an 8 for Jam. Awesome. We got Toby with a 7.19. Ooh, interesting. I like it. Let's see what else we got. We got a 7 and a 7 from Leo V. Okay, awesome. We got episode 1 is a 7.8 and 2 can make the 8. Awesome. I like it. Let's see what else we got. We got an 8 and a 9. Solid scores. I like it. Episode 2 was better than episode 1. Nice. I do kind of agree a little bit. I feel like it was paced a little bit better. I enjoyed 2 a little bit more. Episode 1 had my favorite scene overall with the Cregan Stark stuff. But I feel like episode 2, it was just it fleshed out a little bit more just for me. Episode 1, 6.5 out of 10, and episode 2, an 8 out of 10, trending up, says Jamie Bone. Hell yes, I like it. Zach says, have a good night, all. Have a good night to you guys as well. Love to see each and every single one of you. The next 2 episodes are going to be ridiculous. I very much agree as well. I think episode 3 is probably probably at least has a chance of being the best episode so far. And of course, then episode 4 is going to be freaking phenomenal. We got the big Battle of Rook's Rest coming. I cannot freaking wait. It is going to be so fun. We got a lot of really big events to look forward to in House of the Dragon Season 2. And we're going to be here every single week, breaking them down, hanging out with each and every one of you. So we'd definitely love to see you guys return. And let us know what you thought of Episode 3. And of course, tomorrow night, I will be doing a House of the Dragon pregame show, probably around an hour or two before the episode loads up. I will be going live right here on the channel just to kind of hang out and kill some time while we wait for the new episode to load up. So come and hang out tomorrow night with us as well as we dive into all things House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
But again, I want to give a huge thank you to each and every one of my awesome co-hosts for joining me this evening. You guys are the freaking best. And of course, I want to give a huge thank you to you guys in the chat, the lifeblood of these streams. We could not do these streams without you. That's why I genuinely love getting everybody's opinion in the chat. We want to know what you guys think. What did you like? What did you not like? What are you looking forward to? We want to hear from you. So definitely come back and hang out tomorrow night. Yes, and as well, Alice Rivers coming in episode 3, most likely. That should be fun as well. So come and hang out tomorrow night around 7 p.m. Eastern. I'll be going live 2 hours before the episode loads up, and we will hang out and kill some time and dive back into Westeros together. But until next time, stay safe out there, everybody. Be kind to one another. And as always, keep those tinfoil hats on, and I will see you on the next one.
Gods. Kings. Fire. And blood. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did.
The threat of war looms.
There is no war so hateful as a war between kin.
I mean to fight this war and win it.
I will not be thought weak. I wish to spill blood.
And no war so bloody as a war between dragons.